We're good. All right, we're going to call this meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. Uh, let's start with Doug giving us a roll call and instructions.
Thank you, Chair Grisby. Commissioner Bradshaw.
Here.
Commissioner Cruz. Commissioner Eager.
Here.
Commissioner Elliott. Vice Chair Falcone.
Here.
Commissioner Guardino.
Present.
Commissioner Lugo.
Present online.
Thank you. Commissioner Mann.
Here.
Commissioner Tiffany.
Here.
Chair Grisby.
Present.
Senator Cortese. Assemblymember Wilson. Chair, we have a quorum. Welcome to day one of the May CTC meeting in San Francisco. Please note that because this is a two-day meeting, you will need to use a separate link to attend the meeting tomorrow. The links can be found on the first page of the meeting agenda located on our website. Please use the questions tab in the webinar if you have questions about this. The meeting agenda is located on our website at www.catc.ca.gov. All of the presentations for today's meeting are also available on the Commission Meetings page of our website under the View Download Meeting Materials tab. Any document the CTC creates can be translated into any language you need. Simply email us at ctc@catc.ca.gov and we will have them returned to you as quickly as possible. American Sign Language translation is being provided on the webinar for this meeting. You should see the translators on the screen. Live closed captioning is also available. Please select the Show Captions tab at the bottom of your screen. There are a number of language options available there to choose from. For our presenters, if you're on the agenda to make a presentation, please do your best to be succinct. Please remember to speak at a steady pace to allow our translating services adequate time for accurate translation. If you are presenting remotely, we hope that you will turn on your camera during your presentation if you have one. To all the members of the public, we welcome comments from the public as part of each item at this meeting. For those attending in person, please submit a speaker slip to the clerk at the front of the room, that's me, to let us know you want to comment on an item. For those attending via Zoom, you should see the webinar control panel, likely located at the bottom of your screen. There you will find the raised hand and Q&A tabs. We encourage you to use the raised hand feature as early into the item as you can to give the system time to acknowledge you. Commission staff will let you know when it's your turn to make a comment. Alternately, you may use the Q&A tab to submit your comment. Please be sure to include the agenda item number you are commenting on. Commission staff will read the comment on your behalf. As a reminder, each registered attendee is provided a unique link and phone number to access this webinar. These should not be shared with other participants, as this can create confusion for staff when calling on you to make comments. Please do your best to be concise. Please make sure your comments add new information. If you agree with the comments of a previous speaker, simply make that statement. Please remember to speak at a steady pace to allow our translating services adequate time for accurate translation. Since we often have many speakers, we ask that you make your point in 2 minutes or less. If, for some reason, we have many speakers on any single topic, we reserve the right to limit comments to 1 minute as needed. Thank you for joining us today. We know your time is valuable. We appreciate you spending some of it with us. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Douglas. Next, we will move on to the Welcome to the Region with Andrew Vermeer, the MTC Executive Director, and Stephanie Moulton-Peters, the Vice Chair of the MTC. Thank you so much. Welcome.
Good afternoon, commissioners. I'm Stephanie Moulton-Peters, Vice Chair. Welcome to MTC for your meeting. I understand we've hosted you a couple of times before and we're delighted to have you back. Looks like you have a very full agenda and I wish you well with your meeting. Thank you again for letting us host you.
Yeah, well, welcome. I also want to appreciate the opportunity to host the CTC. If I remember right, we've been here about 10 years, and you were planning to come here the first year we were about to open, and we couldn't promise you an opening date. So it got pushed off a little bit, but I'm glad we're on the rotation, kind of like Pebble Beach in the U.S. Open. So welcome. That's the purpose of this building. It's really an experiment in good government. You know, we live here with BCDC, with the Air District, and of course ABAG and MTC as well. We're also on the verge of getting another transit operator into the building. And so we're just really, again, happy to showcase that and welcome. Next slide, please. So just a quick reminder, a little swing around the Bay. The Bay Area is made of the 9 Bay Area counties. Each one of the Bay counties touches the Bay. There's about 7.7 million residents, and one of our challenges is we have 27 different transit operators. But we're a very large economy, and we do quite well in terms of moving people in transit, and that really is one of the major focuses that we have going forward to keep the Bay Area vibrant. Next slide. A little bit about our dual roles. So MTC and the Association of Bay Area Governments work together as integrated regional agencies. So we have one staff, but 2 boards. ABAG was actually the first regional agency to combine the efforts of cities, towns, and counties to meet the housing and land use challenges. MTC was established by the state legislature specifically to plan the Bay Area's transportation network and lay the foundation for future public transit development. As the years went on, new legislation required long-range transportation plans that incorporated both housing and land use, as well as emission reduction goals. This brought ABAG and MTC's missions closer together, and most notably, we produced Plan Bay Area together. So several years ago, the 2 staffs merged and report to the 2 boards. The 2 boards actually have many joint committees in the dais that you're sitting at, and it's worked real well. Next slide. So Plan Bay Area, which is really our North Star, is the region's long-range regional transportation plan and sustainable communities strategy. It was recently adopted in the fall of 2021. And in January of 2025, the Commission and the Board approved Plan Bay Area 2050 Plus, the final blueprint that will update our current regional transportation plan and sustainable community strategy. But at the core of the vision that is really established with the feedback of tens of thousands of residents is that the plan should ensure that by the year 2050, the Bay Area is affordable, connected, diverse, healthy, and vibrant for all. It includes 4 topical areas that are shown on the left: transportation, housing, the economy, and the environment, with 11 different themes. The plan also expands its scope to introduce strategies for long-term economic development and environmental resilience that aligns with the state's forward-thinking climate strategies and policies. The CTC Senate Bill 1, competitive funding programs, and the California State Transportation Agency's Climate Action Plan for transportation infrastructure. Next slide. Like many regions, the Bay Area faces a serious recovery challenge for transit. MTC has worked closely with our operators and the legislature to develop stopgap funding and transformational strategies that protect essential services while transit recovery rebounds, as you can see in the chart. However, the depressed fare recovery and rising costs continue to give us a projected shortfall of about $900 million in annual transit operating costs beginning in fiscal year 27. Next slide. As part of the recovery effort, MTC's Regional Network Management section has developed a set of focus areas for MTC's Transit Transformation Action Plan. They're all designed really to improve the customer experience. They're all initiatives that are focused on shaping the region's transportation system into a reliable, fast, and easy to use, as well as coordinated system. It's really led in partnership with all of our transit operators and MTC. And its focus areas include fare integration, so it's easy to understand what a fare will cost, wayfinding, so you know where you're going, whether you've been here before or not. Also providing transit priority to give buses an advantage and schedule coordination with our train systems, as well as really focusing on accessibility improvements. The goal is to really attract more riders to transit and create a more effective transportation network. Next slide. So in addition to that work, we have worked very closely with Senators Wiener and Arreguín, both commissioners and directors from ABAG and MTC in their past experience, to create Senate Bill 63. It's really designed to save transit operations. So it's not focused, very unusual for us, it's not focused on any capital improvements. It's focused on really dealing with the 4 core systems: AC Transit, BART, Caltrain, and Muni in San Francisco. The opportunity is also to invest in some of those rider improvements that were shown in the previous slide. The plan right now, in terms of the draft legislation, has 3 counties: San Francisco, Contra Costa, and Alameda, but options for San Mateo and Santa Clara to opt in. We are hopeful that all 5 counties will jump into the measure, as they're all serviced by those 4 transit agencies. And of course, they're all very important BART districts, or BART stations in each one of those counties. We will know over the summer who's in. We will also know exactly what the game plan is for moving forward. And our next key legislative milestone is the Senate appropriations in May of this year, later in May of this year. Next slide. So I want to focus on 3 projects. I will not steal the general manager's show, and I think a lot of us had the opportunity to take a really nice tour on both Muni and on Caltrain, with Caltrain being spotlighted. But we're all proud and have seen quite a bit of ridership improvements in that significant project. Next slide. So across the bay, the I-80 Gilman Street Interchange Project is really a partnership with Caltrans and the Alameda County Transportation Commission. It recently opened as a dual roundabout in a very important intersection of the 80 area. The project really enhances safety, reduces congestion at a key East Bay bottleneck, and it's a good example of a lot of agencies working together to provide pedestrian and bike improvements, as well as really taking advantage of timely state funding and local support with good delivery efforts. Next slide. I think a corridor many of you are familiar with is up in the north, and it's the Marin-Sonoma Narrows project, which is just about to be completed and open to the public this summer. It's a decades-long project that really addresses long-standing congestion and safety challenges in the US 101 Marin and Sonoma County corridors. The project is in its final phase and demonstrates a real sustained regional commitment and partnership with the state of California. Next slide. So looking ahead a little bit, we are focused on delivering regional and interregional infrastructure priorities. As I recall, I spent about 2 hours in this dais a couple of years ago asking for your authority to toll State Route 37, and you gave it to us. So we are working hard with the 4 North Bay counties, Caltrans, BCDC, a whole host of environmental communities, and the tribes in this area. We are focused on really delivering a project that's important for the work-life balance of the individuals that live in the north and work in the west. We really focus on both of these corridors as multimodal corridors that have a lot of goods and access movement. They're both really involved in making sure we're doing climate-resistant infrastructure, and that they both align with SB1 and CAPTI priorities. We are in the process of seeking competitive funds in the SB1 environment for both of these projects at the state level. Next slide. The other thing we wanted to talk about here is really the fact that the state and the region can't realize our plans, our visions alone. To complete that regional vision, I want to highlight the latest round on the voter-approved regional toll measure, Regional Measure 3. MTC's most recent bridge toll program is Regional Measure 3. It's a $3 voter-approved toll increase that was phased in over three $1 increments. The last toll dollar increase was implemented in January of 2025. It identified $4.5 billion of program that finances a comprehensive suite of highway and transit improvements through the increase in tolls on the region's 7 state-owned bridges. MTC has been actively mobilizing these funds, and about 1/3 of that funding plan, $1.6 billion, has been allocated to date. As you can see from Regional Measure 3, our other concurrent efforts I've shared, MTC is making tangible progress in moving forward to state and regional goals. So I think the final slide is just to thank you once again for being here today. A little snapshot of our leadership. You met Stephanie Moulton-Peters from Marin. Our new chair is Sue Nowak from Contra Costa Counties. And good luck with the rest of your meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the intro to the region. We'll move to public comment, and then we'll take any questions from the dais.
Thank you, Chair. Not seeing any requests to comment on the item at this time. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Let's turn to the dais. Anyone like to make a statement or a question? All right, hearing none. Oh, yes. Commissioner Tiffany.
Yeah, I just good afternoon. It's great to be here, and certainly we enjoyed the tour this morning. I wanted to just make a quick comment about back in late April, Commissioner Falcone and I, along with numerous staff members, spent 2 days in Imperial County as part of a town hall meeting. And as I'm learning, town halls are a great way to get to know some of the more rural areas of our state. Last year we had one in Fort Bragg, way north, and in Bishop, east of the Sierras. Anyway, moving around the state for CTC meetings like we do, whether it be regular ones like this in more urban areas or town halls, we get to see different transportation issues, reinforcing the fact that in a state as diverse as California, one size indeed does not fit all. And in particular, the town hall meetings like the one we had in El Centro really illustrate the tremendous needs in areas that generally don't have the resources, both in terms of money and people, that some of the more urban and suburban parts of the state have. And yet, in spite of these limited resources, it's amazing to me the work that we're seeing take place to better the transportation needs of the more rural communities. In Imperial Valley, we were all very impressed with the collaboration between the cities and the county. They do a lot with, in many cases, very little. So although it's not always easy getting to these places, I know I couldn't make the one last year in Bishop, coming from a more rural area, as I do myself, I would encourage all of us on the commission to make every effort to attend as many of these town halls as possible. It's both illuminating and rewarding. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks so much. Not hearing anything else on the item. Thank you so much for the intro. We're going to move to tabs 3 through 5. Approve those together. Doug Remedios.
Thank you, Chair. Tab 3 are the minutes from the March 21st, and April 16th commission meetings. April 16th, again, was our emergency meeting, and the April 10th joint meeting with CARB and HCD. Tab 4 is the commissioners meeting for compensation, and tab 5 is the committee members compensation. Staff recommends your approval.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the dais?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Bradshaw. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tiffany. Is there any public comment?
We did not receive any request to comment on the item. Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Abstentions? Motion approved. Now we're going to go on to tab 6. Tanisha Taylor.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you to Andy Premier and Mayor Nowak for welcoming us here today. We very much appreciated yesterday's tour of Caltrain's today's tour of Caltrain's electrified service, and we're looking forward to hearing more about Caltrain later on our agenda. I'd also like to thank everyone who participated in our meeting of the Interagency Equity Advisory Committee meeting yesterday. We had a robust discussion about the committee's vision and mission statement that will help guide and inform the work our agencies do together. As always, your engagement and your insight are critical in helping to shape a transportation system that delivers equitable results for all Californians. So thank you. It was nice getting to meet many of you yesterday and today. Since our last regular commission meeting, we also held a town hall meeting in Imperial County, which you've heard about from Commissioner Tiffany already. Thank you to everyone at the Imperial County Transportation Commission and Caltrans District 11 for welcoming us to El Centro and sharing your transportation successes and challenges with us. We also held an emergency meeting in April after the California Coastal Commission issued an emergency coastal development permit for the Orange County Transportation Authority's Coastal Rail Infrastructure Resiliency Project due to imminent risk to life and property in the project area. Thank you to all of our partners who came together at such short notice to provide critical funding to the project and ensure the safety of our state's rail system. The Commission will be considering an additional allocation later in this meeting to move this important work forward. And thank you in particular to Matthew Yozgat, Doug Remedios, Lori Waters, Kat Kim, and Beverly Newman Burkhardt for burning the midnight oil to organize and hold this meeting. I also had the honor of attending the Caltrans Fallen Worker Memorial last month and the California Highway Patrol Memorial ceremony last week, honoring those who have lost their lives in the line of duty. This year's Caltrans Memorial commemorated the 194 Caltrans workers who have been killed in the line of duty, including equipment operator Alexander Rodish, who died last July after being struck by a vehicle while on the job. It was extremely moving to hear from Alexander's twin sister and to pay tribute to those who have lost their lives in service to our state. These annual events are a powerful reminder of the risk our transportation workers face while keeping our transportation system safe for the traveling public. Thank you to Caltrans and the California Highway Patrol for holding these events and allowing us to honor your loss with you. Commissioners, last week, or actually this week, yesterday, the governor released the May revise to the 25-26 state budget. We will hear more on the state budget later in today's agenda under Justin's item. As we know, there are continuing concerns about federal funding uncertainty. Commission staff will continue to make our partners aware of any actions at the federal level that will impact transportation funding in California. Several items today include allocations to projects that are now receiving previously awarded federal discretionary grants. As you may be aware, the state has initiated litigation against the federal government over its withholding of funds appropriated for the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Formula Program. We will bring additional updates to the Commission as we learn more. Adequate funding for our state's transportation needs is a key theme of today's agenda. Staff will present the final 2025 State and Local Transportation System Needs Assessment for your approval as required by Senate Bill 1121. The needs assessment demonstrates the significant needs ahead of us required to help meet our state's transportation, safety, equity, climate, and economic goals. Over the next 10 years, we are projecting a shortfall of more than $215 billion to fully meet our transportation needs. I would like to congratulate Francis Diaz-Sanchez and Laura Pennebaker for the immense amount of work they have put into bringing the needs assessment to us today, but the work isn't over yet. With your approval later today, we will submit the needs assessment to the legislature and be ready to partner with the Senate and Assembly to build on our recommendations and help develop solutions to meet this funding need. We will also begin looking ahead to the 2030 update of the needs assessment, where we intend to further examine categories of needs that are not well documented today. So thank you again to Francis and Laura, and to all of our partners and stakeholders who engaged in the needs assessment development. In the coming weeks, Commission staff will announce funding recommendations for the next cycle of the Senate Bill 1 competitive programs. Across the Local Partnership Program, Solutions for Congested Corridors Program, and Trade Corridor Enhancement Program, more than $1.5 billion in competitive funding is available to be awarded to new projects. Our staff have been working hard with evaluator teams and members from the Interagency Equity Advisory Committee to develop recommendations for this cycle, which is the second cycle to incorporate strategies from the Climate Action Plan for Transportation Infrastructure. Staff will bring these recommendations to the Commission for adoption at our next meeting. Before we move into today's agenda, I'd like to take a moment to recognize the decades of service from Tony Tavares, who retired from Caltrans last week. Tony has been a stalwart partner and friend throughout his time at Caltrans as Caltrans director, and before that as district director in Los Angeles and the Bay Area. The collaboration and coordination we have enjoyed between the department and the commission these past few years would not have been possible without Tony's leadership. So once again, Tony, thank you and congratulations. Commissioners, I have a couple staffing updates today. I'm very pleased to announce that Brandy Fleming has accepted a promotion to program manager for the Transit and Intercity Rail Capital Program. Brandy joined the Brandy joined the Commission's administration team in 2020 and leaves some big shoes to fill in her role, helping to produce these Commission meetings. And I think you've heard about Doug's excitement and displeasure as she promotes up, which is a great thing. We're proud to see her stepping into this new role with the Commission. We also have a few new team members joining us. Gloria Mercado is joining our administration team, handling the Commission's procurement and contracting duties. She brings 19 years of experience with the state, most recently with the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation and the Department of Developmental Services. I'm also pleased to announce Kayla McDonald has joined the Commission as the Program Manager for the Vehicle Weight Safety Study established by Assembly Bill 251. Kayla comes to us from the Federal Highway Administration, and we're excited to have her joining the Commission team and getting this important effort underway. On that note, the Vehicle Weight Safety Study Task Force will be holding its kickoff meeting on June 13th, and I encourage all interested parties to participate. Next month is also our next regular commission meeting on June 26th and 27th in Sacramento. And lastly, I'd like to just, even though he's not here, congratulate Mike Keever on being named the acting Caltrans director. And with that, Commissioners, that concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Director Taylor. We will now move to public comment.
We did not receive any requests to comment on the item. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Any questions, comments from the dais? Commissioner Bradshaw.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'd just like to make a request that when we adjourn today's meeting, we do a standing moment of silence for the hardworking men and women we've lost in service to our state, working for Caltrans. And then it's a serious note, but maybe a little lighter note. That's super cool, Brandy. That's awesome. Congratulations.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Hearing no other comments, we'll move on to tab 7, Commissioner and ex officio reports. I'll keep my comments very brief. I'm one of the 4, I guess one of 3, maybe 4 commissioners from the Bay Area if we count Commissioner Tiffany. We welcome you to the Bay Area, a dynamic, hopeful region with many communities under new leadership. We are experiencing a resurgence of community participation and a return to a basics ethos that will bring forth our next golden age. The green shoots are all around. The application of driverless EV technology and its usefulness in people's lives right now is notable. The newly electrified Caltrain that we toured today is another example. The tools are here to solve complex regional issues that not only impact our region, but many across our great nation. I'd like to thank staff on their hard work as well. Francis Diaz Sanchez and Laura Pennybaker, thank you for your work on the needs assessment. I know that was a very heavy lift with all the stakeholders involved and all the great deep policy conversations and analysis you had to do. Thank you for that great work. Yesterday, we attended a great interagency equity advisory committee. Want to welcome and thank the new leadership coming in to that committee for their hard work on their value and mission statement, and also their coming help with SB1 project selections, which will total over $1.5 billion in value. So they're creating great value for the state, and we really appreciate their participation. Also, I'd like to thank Commissioner Tiffany and Vice Chair Falcone for attending the town hall in Imperial County. Not only is that a great way to learn about rural issues, it is also a very important area for the future of our great nation. The work happening there could help support our conversion to cleaner energy sources, helping with our climate goals, while providing thousands of great paying jobs to support our nation's economic competitiveness. Very exciting. I'd like to also thank Caltrain for the great tour this morning, and thank Commissioner Gardino for putting that together and leading that charge, even though you weren't able to attend because of air traffic control stuff. It's very clear that this is a great investment that they've made to electrify that train. It's bringing ridership growth. The ride is zippy and smooth and it's fun. And the economic development that we saw this morning is exactly what we want to have as a state. Great walkable area near public transportation with a variety of ways to get around. With that, I will turn to any other commissioners that would like to make. I see Commissioner Falcone, Vice Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. And good afternoon, everyone. First of all, congratulations to Brandy. It's great to see you on the presenter table with your colleagues. Looking forward to your maiden voyage as a presenter. And welcome to the new CTC staff. We're a family here, and we look forward to working with you. A couple things. I just wanted to amplify some of the things that my colleagues have said about, and Director Taylor about visiting rural areas that we typically do not have the opportunity to hold hearings at, including El Centro, Imperial County. It was a very impactful day in Imperial County. It's a place, and I've spoken quite frequently about the needs of Imperial County and the prospects and opportunities for economic development for such a distressed county. We heard a lot about Lithium Valley. We had a very robust conversation yesterday at the Interagency Equity Advisory Committee. The members were very interested in what's going on in Imperial County and how we can help. This is a county that maintains a high unemployment rate, one of the highest in the state, at currently 17.5%. Yet it's an area that we're looking to really bolster our green economy through potential lithium extraction and the current geothermal activity that is already occurring at the Salton Sea. A couple of themes that came out of the testimony that came from Imperial County and from the member cities, as well as ICTC, is the need for technical assistance and partnership, particularly from us in helping them really navigate, how to get grants and funding for the things that they need for their infrastructure. And that was a second theme that we heard a lot about, was their need for infrastructure, not only energy to fuel all the things that are that's happening there in water, but definitely the transportation. And we had an opportunity to tour Imperial County from the border up to the Salton Sea to see what infrastructure, roads, and highway improvements they need, and their need for intermodal and transit infrastructure as well, because there is a critical mass of folks that actually use transit in Imperial County. So I really am thankful for Commissioner Tiffany um, and CTC staff really organizing this. It was really important to that region that we come see them and see what they're doing and what they need. They are a part of the state. We don't want to leave any region in the state behind with the economic strength that we have as the fourth largest economy in the world. So thank you. Thank you for organizing that. The second thing I wanted to mention is I'd like to take also a moment, if you don't mind, Chair and colleagues, a moment at the end of this hearing of silence to honor the life of kind of a legend in uh, the tribal community in the state, and that is the recent passing of Chairman Bo Mazzetti of the Rincon Band of Luiseño Indians, who passed away earlier this month. Chairman Mazzetti was a trailblazer in tribal state transportation partnerships. He founded the Reservation Transportation Authority and served on the California Department of Transportation's Native American Advisory Committee since 1998. And he was a very good friend of the San Diego region, particularly with Sandag, lots of engagement with Sandag. And I wanted to kind of do a shout out to Mario Orso, our executive director at Sandag, who worked very closely with Chairman Mazzetti. The chairman ensured that tribal governments were not just included, but actively shaped California's transportation landscape. His advocacy laid the groundwork for initiatives like the SR 76 improvements and other tribal priority projects across San Diego County. He was deeply respected for his ability to stand firm in tribal sovereignty while building authentic and lasting partnerships. Chairman Mazzetti was also a veteran of the United States Navy, a businessman, and a tireless public servant. His voice carried not just the weight of his office, but the strength of generations before him and the aspirations of those still to come. My personal reflections of him was he was a gentleman, kind and noble in his demeanor, but also steadfast on the issues that impact tribal communities. And with that, I would like to request at the end of this hearing as well to honor Chairman Mazzetti. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll do that on day one and do yours on day two. Any other requests to comment or give a statement from commissioners? All right, hearing none, I guess we can move to public comment. Is there any public comment on this item? Oh, I forgot. Thank you so much. Senator Cortese, I apologize. You're up, sir. Senator.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate, I think this is the appropriate time for me to make a very brief comment. That goes back to the opening of the meeting and Andy Vermeer's presentation. As a former chair of the Metropolitan Transportation Commission and a former president of the Association of Bay Area Governments, and a state senator who hails from the South Bay Area, I thought it would be remiss if I did not acknowledge and congratulate and thank the Metropolitan Transportation Commission and ABAG for hosting our meeting, the CTC meeting, in their building. I'm glad, as Mr. Vermeer said, that we've gotten on to the cycle, and it has been a great privilege for me and a real educational tour to travel around with CTC up and down the state, and to see what's going on with other MPOs in other counties, in other regions. And so I'm disappointed that because of our legislative schedule today, I wasn't able to be right there with all of you in San Francisco. As you know, I'm often present in person. But I want to thank the Metropolitan Transportation Commission specifically in the aftermath of that overview for their tremendous leadership in the many, many challenges that Andy already highlighted in the Bay Area region. Again, as the state Senate chair, I have more than a front row seat and of course an additional seat here at CTC to see that not only that work, not only the outcome of that work, like the Caltrain electrification, but the challenges, the headaches, the difficult conversations and negotiations that go on in a region with as many transit operators as it has, which is, I think, undisputably the economic engine of the country, if not the world. And I just wanted to acknowledge the commission for its work. I know I speak on behalf of Senator Weiner, also a former MTC commissioner, and Assembly Member Damon Connolly, Senator Arreguín, and former Senator Bill Dodd, among others who have moved on from Metropolitan Transportation Commission over the years to serve in the California State Legislature. So that's it. I just wanted to extend my thanks and my pride that this particular meeting is being housed in a building that was even fought so hard for to create right there in San Francisco to house multiple agencies and create efficiency in the work. And I'm glad you're all there. And hopefully next time around, I'll be there to join you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, and we really appreciate your participation. You always bring great value, and we love hearing from you. Is there any public comment on this item?
No, we did not receive any request to comment. Thank you.
All right, we will move on to tab 8, our CalSTA Secretary, Tokes Famashakin.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Chair Grisby, for all the work that you're doing as you're stepping into this leadership role, and Vice Chair as well. Thank you very much for all the work that you're doing, and the 3.5, I think, commissioners from this area, or four commissioners, Commissioner Tiffany, a full commissioner, Commissioner Tiffany. Thank you for all the work you're doing, commissioners and leaders of the commission, and Executive Director Taylor, staff. Really appreciate it as well. I want to thank Director Vermeer for his welcome to the region as well, and Vice Mayor Nowak for her comments early on, and all the work that this region is doing. When I think about transportation in this region, I think about some of the most progressive minds and work that is happening in transportation. You've got SFCTA, SFMTA, Muni, BART, so many transportation agencies in this region that are doing very good work in serving the people of this region. So I'm thankful for all of them in the work that they're doing. Next slide, please. So I want to start off briefly with some important appointments and departures, some of which have been noted already. But first, Emily Warren, who's actually from this region. It's apropos that we're announcing her appointment at the CTC here because of the work that she's going to be taking on for CalSTA. The governor recently appointed her Deputy Secretary of Innovative Mobility Solutions at CalSTA. Her responsibility is going to include autonomous vehicles, zero-emission vehicles, charging infrastructure, advanced air mobility, and shared mobility services. So anything related to innovative technology that's happening in the transportation space, Emily Warren will be leading that for the state of California. I'm thankful for her for stepping up. She's been working in the private sector for more than a decade. Thankful for her stepping up into this very important role. And I will highlight just in a few minutes why her responsibility again is going to be so important for us in transportation moving forward. Also, I want to mention, not pictured, but as was mentioned already, Director Tony Tavares, after more than 3 decades of service to Caltrans, recently retired. I want to thank him for his many decades of service to Caltrans and to the state. And for the last 3 years of his service, he was also, as already noted, he was director of one of the largest departments in the state. So I'm thankful to Tony for all of his work, and also thankful to Mike Keever, Chief Deputy of Caltrans, for stepping up into the appointment, not official appointment, but acting appointment as director of Caltrans. Many of you know Mike Keever and all of his work. He's at nearly, I think, 4 decades of service to Caltrans. Thankful for Mike for stepping up to lead the department in the interim basis. Also, finally, as far as appointments go, not officially sworn in yet, but James Hacker, Deputy Cabinet Secretary in the Governor's Office, is going to be joining our team at CalSTA. He's going to be serving as Undersecretary for Transportation for the state. So thankful for James as well for stepping up to lead transportation for us in California. Soon to come on when his actual start date will be, when he will be departing the governor's office. Next slide. So, as was mentioned already, you probably have seen some of the highlights already. Governor Newsom announced yesterday a nearly $330 billion budget for the state of California. It's a very challenging budget season. We have a nearly $12 billion shortfall in this current FY, soon to come FY budget. But the budget, the good news in it is that it maintains the multi-year transportation package that was included in the prior budget, the 2024 budget. That budget included $15.4 billion for things like high priority transit and rail infrastructure projects to the tune of $7.7 billion. Also, $4.2 billion for high-speed rail from the Prop 1A funds. And also in this particular budget, the governor announced a new proposal to extend cap and trade. Cap and trade, as many of you know, ends in 2030. But governor wants to align cap and trade with the commitments that we've made for carbon neutrality by the year 2045 in this state. So extending cap and trade beyond 2030 is very, very important goal to him. Also, changing the name from cap and trade to cap and invest is what the governor has proposed to rename the program moving forward. What is being committed in cap and invest right now, the governor is committing to is again investment for high-speed rail, a minimum of $1 billion a year, and also $1.5 billion for Cal Fire to continue its important work around fire across the state, but leaving it open to negotiations and discussions with the legislature on how we will continue to fund programs like TRCP and the low zero emission vehicle bus program. But a minimum of $1 billion for high-speed rail and $1.5 billion for Cal Fire. Next slide, please. As was noted already, I think Director Taylor mentioned this. A very important memorial continues to be held. This year's memorial was the 35th annual Caltrans Workers Memorial. This was the first one that I actually missed since I've been in this in the varying responsibilities for the state. But 194 fallen workers. Thank you, Commissioner Bradshaw, for bringing up the important note of a moment of silence for fallen workers across the state. Not noted here, CHP also had their memorial just right after Caltrans did. 232 men and women have fallen in service to the California, to CHP. And so recognizing them also is also very important to all of us as we're brethren in this work to the state of California. I won't go through the rest of these 2 bullets in detail. I'll just highlight the fact that the new Motor Vehicle Board, which is a part of CalSTA, you may not be familiar with this organization. It is one of the smaller departments that's a part of CalSTA. They recently launched a pledge that they're working with vehicle dealerships to continue to advance our work on safety and electric vehicles. And also, The Check to Protect campaign continues to move forward through the new Motor Vehicle Board, where they're working with dealers and people across the state to increase awareness of recalls that are on vehicles. The Takata airbag is just one example of recalls that the new Motor Vehicle Board continues to highlight. And I'm thankful for the director and his team there for the work that they've done here. So far, California leads the way on this with more than 107,000 vehicle recalls that have been repaired. And we're way ahead of states like Texas that is at 80,000. We're at 107,000. So a lot of good work happening to make sure that folks on the road continue to be safe, including while they're in their vehicles. Next slide, please. Very briefly on this as well, the California Highway Patrol, part of the safety work that they continue to do, as far as the organized retail theft crime task force, rather, that was established by this administration in 2019. So it's coming up on 6 years. So far, this unique work that the Highway Patrol is doing, this unique work, they have recovered nearly $60 million in values as far as assets go. It's a tremendous amount of work. This is not the typical work that Highway Patrol departments across the country do, but this is something that the governor has asked the Highway Patrol to step up and do. And you see the number of arrests and investigations, a number of assets recovered. So thankful for Commissioner Dury and his team and the work that they continue to do to make not only our highways safer, but our communities safer as well. Next slide, please. So I mentioned Emily Warren has been appointed Deputy Secretary for Innovative Mobility for the department. One of the responsibilities that she's going to have is seeing how we can continue to advance autonomous vehicle regulations for the state. In April, we released new regulations around the testing and deployment of autonomous vehicles that weigh more than 10,000 pounds. So these are trucks and heavy duty vehicles that will someday be on our roadway. I'm sure many of you have seen or probably gotten into a Waymo since you've been here in this region. San Francisco is one of the first cities in the country and one of the first cities in the world to actually have deployment of fully autonomous vehicles. And so we're taking that next step as a state to explore testing and deployment of trucks on our roadways as well. These regulations are open for comment now, and the public comment period ends on June 9th. So if this is a topic of interest to people in the public or people in the audience today, please follow up with us or with Emily Warren directly to provide comment on this. I know how important this is to safety. These efforts around autonomous vehicles have not moved forward without challenges, especially in this region. As deployment has happened, everything from how they interact with first responder vehicles to pedestrians, all those things have come up. So this is going to continue to be an important item for us as a state as we move forward on autonomous technology. Now, next slide. State Priority Safety Corridor Pilot Program is something that you will hear a little bit more about in the coming months. Don't want to officially announce the details of this yet, but it's a new pilot program that we are going to launch from CalSTA around safety. We're going to take essentially the blueprint of the efforts that we took on when we jumped to address the challenges on the Pacific Coast Highway. Commissioner Gardino, I know is very familiar with some of the efforts we took on, but it was an all hands on deck effort with CHP, Caltrans, OTS, even CTC as well, engaging in how we can improve safety on the PCH. And we've seen very good results from that all hands on deck effort on PCH. And we want to mirror a similar approach on other highways across the state where we've identified significant safety challenges. So some of the areas that we're thinking about, you see on the screen, South Sacramento, Ventura, West LA, just to name a few, where we will try to duplicate the efforts that we took on the Pacific Coast Highway on these other roadways. But again, thankful for everybody's efforts on the Pacific Coast Highway to improve safety on it. And I think a great opportunity is in front of us post the fires that happened in Los Angeles to make sure that the roadway meets the safety criteria that we want to set for the state and for that particular roadway. Next slide, please. Just two more, and I'll wrap for questions. On the third item on the core four is climate action. As many of you know, climate action continues to be one of the more important elements of transportation in the state. We're nearly 50% of GHG coming from the transportation sector. Part of our efforts are not limited to California. We're also expanding, as you know, globally. This week, I'll be meeting with officials from, or next week, I'll be meeting with officials from Japan. We've met with officials from China on this front, but recently had a forum as well with leaders from Africa, where Lieutenant Governor Eleni Koulounakis joined us in launching a new forum called the California Africa Climate and Economic Forum right here in Sacramento as a part of San Francisco Climate Week. These African leaders also met with the governor's climate cabinet, and the governor, as you can see from this image, briefly joined these leaders as well for a discussion about climate action across the globe and of course here in California. So we continue to show not only our statewide leadership, but national and global leadership on the climate front. Director Taylor already mentioned this, but I just want to thank her and the rest of the CTC team for stepping up on the low sand corridor, the $10 million that was allocated to this very important rail and transit corridor, even national defense corridor was an important step. So thankful for Caltrans and the CTC team for the work that they're doing to continue to advance improvements in safety on this corridor. Also, we're continuing to work to disperse funds for the second year of SB 125, working to see if we can get $1 billion out in funding for this next round of transit operations funding for transit organizations in the state. And finally, the Transit Transformation Task Force, which is a task force that was approved to appoint by the state legislature and Governor Newsom in November of 2023. That task force is right around the corner with their final report. So in roughly 5 months, they will have a report that is due to the legislature that will address issues like how to fund transit operations in California moving forward. So this is a heavy task and a heavy responsibility for this task force. So I'm looking forward to the report that they're going to be finalizing in the coming weeks and months for our state. Next slide, please. And finally, on equity, I think actually I have equity and economic prosperity. On equity, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on this, but I think it was mentioned already. There was a meeting yesterday. Thankful for all the folks that you see on your screen, the Equity Advisory Committee. Really appreciate the work that they're doing. I participated in some of the discussion yesterday, and a very robust discussion, and I'm thankful for the chair and the vice chair for the work that they're doing to lead this committee, including our staff as well from Caltrans, CTC, and CalSTA as well for their work. And as you can see there, TTF and CAPTI 2.0 are just some of the things that they will continue to cover in the coming months and year. And finally, on economic prosperity, next slide, please. One of the things we're paying attention to, you've probably seen comments from our governor on this, is the impacts of the tariffs that have been proposed by this federal administration. The numbers are starting to come out, and we're starting to see some direct impact to the state, including to our state budget. The governors and the Department of Finance were projecting a $16 billion shortfall in revenue so far. And part of the reason why we're seeing that shortfall is impact to the stock market, and also reduced amount of traffic as far as imports that are going to be coming into the state of California. So we're paying very close attention from the transportation side to the impacts of these tariffs. High-speed rail recently announced the completion of the Whitney Avenue underpass, and also celebrated 15,000 construction jobs, 15,000 that have been added, that have been created, rather, to our state since the inception of this project. I'm not going to go through these numbers at the bottom of your screen, but the mobile driver's license is something that we're also tracking from a technology standpoint. You can see the DMV wallet and Apple Wallet are leading the way as more and more people transition from not only a hard driver's license, but also a mobile driver's license as well. Next slide, please. I think that is it. Again, major thank you to the CTC, to the commission, commissioners, for all the work that you're doing to lead us in the state. I know it's not easy work, and you get paid a ton of money to do this. But thankful for all of your work, and to staff as well, and Caltrans team as well, Stephen, for being here to present on behalf of the acting director. Thank you. Look forward to any questions.
Thank you, Secretary. We all appreciate your leadership so much. Thank you. We're on to public comment. Is there any public comment on this item?
We did not receive any requests to comment on this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone from the dais would like to make any comments or questions on that item? Past Chair Gardino.
Thank you, Chair Grisby. Secretary Omashakin, thank you for being here in person today. I'm amazed by your calendar. Almost 40 million Californians in 58 counties, 482 cities in the 50 states and the nations that you are constantly traveling to make the lives and livelihoods of Californians better through our mobility improvements. So thank you for that. We all take the shortfalls in our state budget seriously, and it is heartening to see the ongoing commitment of our governor and of you and your team to maintain that multi-year transportation funding pot from the previous year. And I'm so excited, as you and I discussed in the fall, about cap and trade moving forward in such a timely and important manner. I think the rebranding is appropriate as well, because we invest and prosper when we take these steps. I wanted to just quickly commend you, Emily Warren. Many of us on this dais have worked with in the past. What a great addition to your team in our state. James Hacker, I bet the governor is really angry at you for stealing James away.
He actually is.
He is top notch. So please thank him for us. And I just want to call out again your leadership, your vision, your empathy, and your effectiveness on those mobility and safety improvements that are being built for the Pacific Coast Highway. The work that District 7 Director Gloria Roberts, who I hope and believe is here with us today, are doing, that former Director Taveras has done, the way that you've partnered with the local community there as well. When I saw those 60 tires representing 60 lives and dreams and families broken, it's devastating. And the fact that you're now going to take that to other key stretches of road in our state is commendable. So just want to thank you, and please let Julie and Jeremiah and Joy know how much we all appreciate that your family is allowing your state family to have so much of your time and talent.
If I could respond, Chair, I'll be brief. Past Chair Gardino, really appreciate those comments. Look, when we're in these responsibilities, we say it and we're kind of casual about it, but it's truly an honor to serve. I mean, that's why we have these responsibilities, is to see how we can lift up people and communities. That's why we're sitting up here. Hopefully not for that big paycheck that we all get, but to make a difference for people. So it's truly an honor. On some of the things that you highlighted, I'm excited for the people who are going to be joining the team. The governor, part of the reason why Mr. Hacker hasn't come over yet is because he's such an important player, factor in the governor's office. He's a smart man, and I'm looking forward to him joining us on the transportation team, and Emily Warren as well. Really excited about her coming on board. As far as the safety efforts, we've learned a lot from you, people like you pushing us to do more on PCH, stakeholders pushing us. And so we can't rest on our laurels. It's time to see how we can implement some of those same things we did on PCH on other safety challenged roadways in the state. So looking forward to seeing what we can do. Headed to LA in a few minutes. And part of what I'm going to be talking about is safety issues when I'm down in Southern California. But also want to briefly just recognize Dina El Tawanzi. Is Dina in the room? She better be in the room. There she goes. She's uh, this is her district that we're in. And so if you have any major problems, really difficult problems, make sure you complain to her, not just to Stephen Keck up here. So thank you, Commissioner.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. And hello to Dina. We really appreciate your leadership in this region. Next, we're going to Chief Financial Officer, Stephen Keck.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Stephen Keck sitting in for our newly appointed Acting Director, Michael Keever, who had a family emergency and could not attend today. It's a pleasure to be up here again, sharing the department's presentation. And if we can move to the next slide, I'll begin. If you have to say something the third time, you know it's important. Michael Keever is appointed as our acting director until a permanent director is assigned or appointed by the governor in the coming weeks, I'm told. In the meantime, we love working for Mike. He's been our boss for a long time. He's been up here many times, been with the department for well over 3 decades, and is great in this new role. Next slide, please. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the recovery on the Pacific Coast Highway from the LA fires that occurred this year. Last month, Governor Newsom announced that the PCH would fully reopen to public travel by the end of May, and that is still the case. Currently, the PCH is under soft closure with access limited only to residents, business owners, and school bus traffic. And it's worth noting the LA Metro has been operating on the PCH since February, so we do have transit service there now. Our crews continue to work around the clock to repair the roadways, while Army Corps of Engineers works with the local utilities to upgrade power and water lines and to clear some of the damaged properties. And then in the middle of all this, on April 26th, we had a new flood in the area from the heavy rainfall that came. And that's the picture in the lower right. It flooded the roadway again. It was cleared within 20 hours, and the PCH was opened again on Sunday morning early. But it's worth noting that these kinds of mudslides and floods occur far more often in recently burned areas. And so we're going to be on the lookout for this along the PCH in the coming months in the next winter season. So this is something to keep in the back of your mind. On the Topanga Canyon side, Route 27 remains closed with very limited exceptions. Between PCH and Grandview Drive, we're working on 3 new retaining walls. Southern Cal Edison is working on undergrounding utilities, and the LA County Public Works is working on relocating the water lines there. There's a lot going on, but we were able to open the route to bus traffic for school buses. So the children who had a very long commute for a little while there are now able to get through the area and shorten their young commutes, I'll say. But with all that said, we still are making a lot of progress, and we hope to be able to report at the next CTC meeting that Topanga Canyon is reopened, although there will be one-way traffic where the road has slipped out completely and we need to rebuild that. Next slide, please. Kind of along those lines, I want to point out that so far this fiscal year, we've had about $1.14 billion in director's orders, which are emergency work. About 10% of that is directly related to the LA fires and the straight line winds that caused the damage down there. This is the third year in a row where damage has exceeded $1 billion across the highway system. And we did an analysis, and about 2/3 of that is weather related, directly winds and floods and mudslides, and about 16% is related to fires, and the rest are various other emergencies. I bring this up because later on in our agenda, we have a request to increase the reservation that we have in the State Highway Operations Protection Program that funds this program. So we'll be asking you to increase that reservation to allow us to continue our emergency work. Next slide, please. I want to talk briefly about our Workers' Memorial. Thank you very much, Executive Director Taylor, for your heartfelt perspective on our Workers' Memorial, our statewide Workers' Memorial that was held this year. I don't think I could say it much better, and all I can really say is thank you to you and to everyone else who attends our Workers' Memorial. It means a great deal to Caltrans to have your support. And it means a great deal to the families who have lost their members in service at Caltrans. So thank you all for that. Next slide, please. But working safely is a big priority at Caltrans, and we continue to innovate in that area. It's our top priority, worker safety. And we're very excited about some of the innovation in the area, like what we're seeing here on the slide. Last month, the team working on the Regents slide, which in this case is a mass wasting event slide, not a PowerPoint slide. You can't really tell here on the picture, but the tractor there has nobody in it. This is a remote controlled tractor. We had this Caterpillar equipment working remote control operated for 9 consecutive days on this slide, which prevented the need to have anyone out there working on an active slide. It has the added benefit of being able to use heavier equipment than we ever otherwise would be able to, because there's no people involved and we don't have to worry about necessarily losing that slope. So it's more efficient, it's safer, and it's innovative, and it's something we look forward to using, especially in these more dangerous areas. Next slide, please. We are also moving steadily ahead on our commitment to increase safety through complete streets innovations. Just for one example, at this CTC meeting, the Commission will vote on funding to construct a complete streets project in the small community of Happy Camp in District 2. This project is built, or will be built, in partnership with the Keurig tribe, which represents the first time that Caltrans has partnered in construction on an ATP project with a tribal nation. So we're very much looking forward to this. Improvements, of course, will include new sidewalks, bike lanes, crosswalks, radar speed feedback, and other safety issues. And it's tab 110 on your agenda for tomorrow. Next slide, please. Towards our goal, our strategic plan goal of employee excellence, Caltrans continues to find innovative ways to bring the best talent and to develop that talent. Just one example is our new Heavy Equipment Operator Academy that has been deployed across the state. The academy addresses the growing demand for skilled workers, especially heavy equipment operators, and it strengthens local communities by offering training and certifications for high-quality career opportunities. You can see here our graduation, our last graduation, but so far we have had 59 individuals graduate from the Heavy Equipment Operator Program with one or more of over a dozen different types of certification. The Academy, I'm proud to say, was recently nominated for the 2025 AASHTO America's Transportation Award for the Quality of Life and Community Development category. So we're very proud of our efforts in that area. Next slide, please. And finally, I'll wrap up with our winter wrap up. We have only just a couple of road closures still in place from the winter storms. We did have a few surprise snow flurries in this last April. But as we wrap up the clearing of the highways, just want to bring the work of these hardworking men and women at Caltrans, because it takes a lot to clear these highways. It's not just snow. It's repairing roads from the snow melt. It's repairing down trees. It's repairing damage to the roads from landslides and other chain damage and potholes. A lot of work goes into that. And although the winter season is done and we're about ready to call it quits on the slopes, we actually immediately start repairing our equipment, training new operators, reordering our supplies, restocking our brine. It's a year-round operation. So winter isn't year-round, but winter ops is year-round at Caltrans. So just a big shout out to our teams up on the hills who are getting it done. And thank you. Thank you for the applause. I wasn't seeking applause, but they deserve it, certainly. Next slide, please. And with that, I'll end my presentation and be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Is there any public comment?
We did not receive any request to comment.
All right, thank you. Anyone from the dais? Vice Chair Falcone?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Stephen, for joining us. And please extend our condolences to Michael when you connect with him. As you were talking about innovation and especially the tractor that was being remotely operated, kind of stimulated a question about a recent executive order that the governor signed relating to emerging technologies and AI, um, specifically in transportation, and wanted to know, it's very topical, and really appreciate, the tone of the executive order as it relates to ethical application of AI. And so in that respect, is there anything that you can share in terms of implementation and how we will be involved or what we can expect, um, related to upskilling workers particularly, right? Because we don't want workers to think that they're being displaced, right? And so, how do you foresee in terms of, workforce development and upskilling, in that space, that we can expect?
That's a very good question. First of all, the way we're going about tackling AI is as an augmentation to what we're already doing, not as a replacement for any staff work that we already do. What I might suggest is that we have our AI folks come and give a presentation to the commission at the next meeting so that I don't butcher what is obviously a very important topic. I have just enough knowledge to be dangerous, and that's never a good thing. So I would suggest that and promise that we can be here at the next commission meeting if that suits you.
That would be, much appreciated. And, honestly, Stephen, I think everybody is trying to figure out AI at this point. So I would argue that no one's really an expert. And so I think working together will, I think, I think would be an important step in really being thoughtful about how we implement this. And so I would appreciate a presentation. That would be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair. Anyone else like to make a comment? Not seeing any. We're going to move forward in the agenda. Thank you. We are withdrawing item 10, but we're going to skip to item 14, Sequoia. Oh, 15. Oh, beg your pardon. My bad. We're going to 15. Our resolutions of necessity. The first one with mobile oil. Tim.
Thank you. Commissioners, tab 15 is an action item. This resolution of necessity hearing was requested by the property owners Ragbir and Kamlesh Kambo due to impacts to their property from a proposed safety improvement project on State Route 210 in San Bernardino County. The project proposes to widen the eastbound State Route 210 off-ramp to Waterman Avenue to provide an additional storage lane, construct a retaining wall, upgrade curb ramps to be ADA compliant, and modify existing traffic signals. At this time, I'd like to ask if the property owners or a representative are in attendance or are participating virtually. Doesn't appear anyone's in the room. Anyone online?
If you're online, you could raise your hand to indicate you are in attendance. We're not seeing any hands raised online.
Thank you. Before making a recommendation, I would like to discuss the request. The Cambo property is 16,548 square feet and is operated as a gas station and convenience store. The required area from the property to construct the project is 81 square feet in temporary construction easement. Adjacent to the Cambo's property is a parcel owned by Mobile Oil Corporation, and this property has a total area of 1,618 square feet. This parcel was supposed to be part of the property transfer to the Cambos. However, due to an error in the legal description, the subject property was never ultimately transferred to the Cambo Trust. This resolution is being heard at the same time as the Cambos due to the proximity of the easements necessary for the construction of the project. The required area from the mobile parcel is a 10 square foot highway easement and a 28 square foot temporary construction easement. Under eminent domain law, a property owner whose property is under condemnation consideration has the right to appear before the commission to question 3 of the 4 findings that are required to be met. Per section 1242.230 of the Code of Civil Procedure, prior to the commission adopting a resolution, the 3 findings are: does public interest and necessity require the proposed project? Next, is the project planned and located in a manner that will be the most compatible with the greatest public good and least private injury? Next, is the project necessary for the proposed project? The 4th finding requires that an offer to acquire the property in accordance with the Government Code Section 7267.2 has been made to the owner of record. It is the Commission's understanding that the Department provided this offer on May 21st, 2024 to both the Cambos and Mobile Oil Corporation. The Commission neither determines the amount of compensation for the property rights to be acquired, nor deals with any issues other than the first 3 findings. With the property owner not being here to participate in the Ron hearing and Caltrans responses to their contentions are in the posted book item, I recommend we skip the Caltrans presentation on this item. Commission staff has reviewed the proposed RON and concludes Caltrans has met the statutory requirements and therefore recommends approval of the RON.
Thank you, Tim. Is any public comment?
Not seeing any request to comment.
Anyone on the dais? Is there a motion?
So moved for approval.
So moved by Commissioner Bradshaw. Is there a second? Second by Vice Chair Falcon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you.
Chair, if we could just note, Commissioner Cruz has joined us since the start of the meeting.
Great. Okay. Welcome, Commissioner Cruz. Next, we will move on to item 16, resolution of necessity. Tim.
Thank you. Tab 16 is also an action item. This resolution of necessity hearing was requested by the property owners Dave and Barbara Moser due to impacts to their property from a proposed bridge preservation program project on State Route 1 in Marin County. The project proposes to replace the existing Lagunitas Creek Bridge with a seismically safe structure with wider shoulders and ADA compliant sidewalks and curb ramps. At this time, I'd like to ask if the property owners or a representative are in attendance or participating virtually.
Again, if you're virtual, if you could raise your hand to let us know you're here and you'd like to speak, please do so. Not seeing any indication online someone wants to speak on this item.
Thank you. Before making a recommendation, I would also like to discuss this request. The total property area is 36,207 square feet. The required area to construct the project is 452 square feet in fee, 4,102 square feet for a temporary construction easement, 5,911 square feet for a temporary overhead utility easement, and 328 square feet for a temporary planting easement. As I mentioned previously regarding the 4 findings, I don't know that I have to repeat them. I would like to mention the 4th finding requires that an offer be made to the property in accordance with the government code. And it's Commission's understanding the department provided this offer on January 4th, 2024, with a memorandum of adjustment on May 15th, 2024. And again, the Commission neither determines the amount of compensation for the property rights to be acquired, nor deals with any issues other than the first three findings. With the property owner not being here to participate in the Ron hearing and Caltrans's responses to their contentions are in the posted book item, I recommend we skip the Caltrans presentation for this item. Commission staff has reviewed the proposed Ron and concludes Caltrans has met the statutory requirements and therefore recommends approval of the Ron.
All right, thank you, Tim. Any public comment?
No request to comment on the item.
Thank you. Anyone from the dais? Questions, comments? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Bradshaw, seconded by Commissioner Tiffany. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. We will move back up to item consent. Okay. All right, we're moving to consent, starting with tab 38. And Ahmed.
Thank you, Commissioner. Tab 38 through 44 and
Hold on one second, Ahmed. We have a recusal.
Thank you. I'm going to recuse myself for tabs 45 and 46 due to a potential conflict.
okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, we'll be taking tab 38 through. Okay. I thought we were going to take them. Okay.
All right, you can proceed.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, tab 38 through 59 are action items on the consent calendar. Please make note of the change list for tab 48. Staff recommends your approval of tabs 38 through 59.
I'm sorry, what you just said?
Uh,
Oh, great. Okay, perfect. Any public comment?
Not seeing any requests to comment on any of the mentioned items.
All right, thank you. Anyone on the dice? I see Commissioner Bradshaw, your light's on.
I'm just ready to make a motion.
Oh, great. Okay. Motion by Commissioner Bradshaw. Is there a second?
I'll make it
Second by
formally.
Vice Chair Falcone.
I move to approve. I should have verbalized it. But the Bay Area crew, man, we move fast.
We move fast.
Motion to approve all items.
All right, perfect. Motion to approve by Commissioner Bradshaw, seconded by Vice Chair Falcone. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Chair, for the record, Commissioner Elliott joined us for that vote as well.
Great. Welcome, Commissioner Elliott.
Thank you. And I also vote aye on that one, on mute.
Thank you, Ahmed. We can welcome back our other commissioner. All right. Next up is tab 11, Carl Anderson with the Regional Agencies Moderator.
All righty. Good afternoon, commissioners. Can you hear me okay? Great. I'm Carl Anderson with the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, and I am here to provide the Regional Transportation Planning Agency's update. The RTPA group held its May meeting yesterday, where we received and discussed updates from our state partners. Specific to this month's agenda, Caltrans staff presented the latest fund estimate assumption details, in which will inform the development of the 2026 fund estimate and sets how much each county will receive in the 2026 State Transportation Improvement Program. The RTPAs would like to thank Caltrans staff for all their hard work in developing the assumptions and the forthcoming fund estimate, and also thank the CTC State Transportation Improvement Team for kicking off the 2026 STIP development process earlier this month. The RTPAs look forward to working with CTC to develop our regional transportation improvement programs through the remainder of this year and finalize the 2026 STIP early next year. Next, CTC staff shared summary information on the final 2025 state and local needs assessment. I want to thank Francis Diaz-Sanchez and her team for their commitment to collaboration throughout the entire process and developing the first statewide needs assessment required under SB 1121. The RTPAs remain committed to supporting this work and are eager to enhance the needs assessment for the 2030 update. And finally, I want to acknowledge Peter DeHaan from the Ventura County Transportation Commission. Peter is retiring from VCTC at the end of May, and this is his last CTC meeting. Yesterday, Peter told me that his first RTPA meeting he attended included a discussion on the 1986 fund estimate. Now, I wasn't there, but I think this was also the same time my parents developed their fund estimate to see if I would pencil out. Jokes aside, Peter, I do want to thank you on behalf of all the RTPAs for your commitment to public service and your valuable contributions to the California Transportation Policy Framework and project delivery throughout your career. This concludes my update for the RTPAs, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Carl. Any public comment?
Did not receive any request to comment.
All right, thank you. Anyone from the dais? Yes, Director Taylor.
Carl, thanks for mentioning Peter. I just want to say thank you, Peter. You've been a stalwart in the industry, and I appreciate the service you've given us. And thank you for waving. I was looking for you, Peter, so thanks for that. And I appreciate you, and we'll miss you.
I see past Chair Gardino.
Thank you, Carl. I got to ask, did you pencil out?
I think so.
Okay, there you go. Would
Anyone
your
else?
parents like to give a rebuttal?
We can see if they're on Zoom. Doug?
All right, thanks so much.
Thanks.
Next up, we will move to item 13, Aaron Hoyt, Rural Counties Task Force Chair.
Good afternoon, Chair Grisby, Vice Chair Falcone, Commissioners, Executive Director Taylor, and Senator Cortese. My name is Aaron Hoyt. I'm the Deputy Executive Director for the Nevada County Transportation Commission and also the Chair for the Rural Counties Task Force representing the 26 rural regional transportation planning agencies and local transportation commissions. Our staff met with the CTC and Caltrans staff on May 9th to hear a number of informative updates on Senate Bill 1, the Active Transportation Program Symposium coming this fall, and also updates on the statewide obligation authority and upcoming FTA transit grants. We were privileged, though, to have Lauren Prohoda from Caltrans present to us on the road user charge program. This was a very informative program, status update on the program. And what was really interested to us is that it focused in on rural counties as well as tribal communities who have a lot of residents who may travel on private roads. And so they looked at how might this program, if it's implemented in the future, differentiate and account for vehicle miles traveled or mileage that's being traveled on private roads versus public. So that was a interesting differentiator there. And I think that was pleasing for some of us to hear. And we actually have one of our RCTF member agencies who participated in the program and had good things to say about the pilot. So we were pleased to hear about that. And then staff is also at different levels in our RCTF group. We are tracking the AB 744 data program that your staff is leading, and also the upcoming STIP guidelines. We are supportive of the state and local transportation system needs assessment that you're hearing today and looking forward to how we can stabilize transportation funding in the future. So I want to thank you for this opportunity to present today. And as always, it's always a pleasure to work with your staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Any public comment?
Did not receive any request to comment on the item.
All right, thank you. Any from the dais would like to make a comment or question? Thank you for joining us. Next up, we will have item 14, Sequoia.
Chair, for the record, tab 13, the Self-Help Counties Coalition, that one was withdrawn.
Hi, Sequoia.
Hi, good afternoon, commissioners and secretary. Tab 14 is an informational item, and I will highlight outcomes from the May 14th EAC business and executive meetings. And once I'm finished with my updates, I will hand it over to EAC member Carrie Akemi Hernandez to provide remarks and insights on her experience with the committee. So thank you so much to those of you who were able to join us yesterday at the business and executive meetings of the Interagency Equity Advisory Committee, which we held at the San Francisco County Transportation Authority. And I really, really want to extend a deep gratitude to the staff and leaders of the San Francisco County Transportation Authority for hosting us and nourishing us throughout the long day with that delicious spa water. At the business meeting, committee members discussed and deliberated next steps on the utilization of subcommittees to accomplish advisory goals associated with our interagency work plan. And I am beyond delighted to announce that 3 new ad hoc subcommittees were approved for formation by the committee yesterday, a major milestone. So to best address the areas for both meaningful committee involvement and anticipated advisory needs of our 3 agencies of the Commission, Caltrans, and CalSTA, staff recommended and members approved the creation of the 3 new ad hoc subcommittees as follows. 1 being community engagement policies and practices, 2 being transportation planning and program guidance, and 3 being focused on data implementation. Ad hoc subcommittees will kick off this summer to address work plan items that each of our agencies are bringing to the committee for advisory support. And in the afternoon, our executive committee, EAC members held robust discussions along with CTC commissioners and executives, CalSTA Secretary Omashakin, and Caltrans Deputy Director of Equity and Tribal Affairs, Naila Pope-Hardin. Thank you also to Caltrans District 4 Director Dina Altawanzi, SF CTA Executive Director Tilly Chang, and Bike East Bay Co-Executive Director of Mobility Justice Justin Hu Wen for providing welcoming remarks and helping set the stage for transportation equity efforts in the Bay Area region. And as a Richmond native, I was very, very excited to bring the Bay Area to the EAC this week. During the executive meeting, members and executives discussed and determined next steps on a draft mission, vision, and foundational principle for transportation equity. We discussed the 2025 committee work plan and received an update from the Caltrans Director's Office of Equity and Tribal Affairs regarding the department's community engagement efforts with a focus on processes and tools that are in development that will continue to support engagement throughout project lifestyle. So it was a very informative presentation, and we appreciate the Caltrans team. These, as mentioned, these agenda items resulted in robust discussion among our members and commissioners, executives, and we are so grateful for your feedback also on the mission and vision statement. And our team looks forward to continuing to integrate policies and priorities that were discussed on Wednesday. So that's all for my updates. Now I will pass it to EAC member Akemi Hernandez. Member Carrie Akemi Hernandez also serves as chair of the Napa County Housing Commission and will briefly share some preliminary results on language needs determined in the recently released Napa County Housing Needs Assessment and other interesting projects of note. So I'll pass it to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Sego, Care Bear, Thunderfoot, greetings. My name is Carrie Akemi Hernandez. I want to give thanks to our creator, my ancestors, my grandmother, our natural world, my children, my grandchildren, my community members, my friends, and community leaders that have paved the way and the shoulders that I stand on today. I also want to give a shout out to Mayor Jill Teckle, a former Mayor Jill Teckle, for Leadership Napa Valley. My practicum project was MVTA, Kate Miller, and then that led me to have Gabby Orantes MBOP, who's also with MTC, nominate me for Urban Habitat BCLI program. And I want to give thanks to the leaders there, Ellen, Bob, Larissa, and Chris, for bringing me here today, as well as our staff for the Interagency Equity Advisory Committee, and all of you today, Chair, Vice Chair, Executive Director, and Commissioners, as well as Secretary. What I have before you right now, and the first slide shows how our local communities impact our region. And so what I wanted to focus on in the lower middle photo is our living water way, which is the Napa River. And there was a flood management project that was very significant and helped shape Napa in a new way. And in addition, we have a new project that was part of the SMART routes, and it's a roundabout there at Highway 29 by the Grape Crusher, and that helped show a way to be within our natural world, as well as have pedestrians and bicyclists be safe and have different access into housing there. Why I wanted to showcase this is other communities in District 4, which I represent, are not necessarily quite there with flood management. So when we travel to Sonoma County during winter months, we see floodways or significant flooding. We see flooding in Novato, and now bringing into the project with Highway 37, which everyone who's here in the Bay is very familiar with, and it's near and dear to our heart. I grew up in Crockett. Vallejo was my first home, knowing that those areas are wetlands. Today, I'm wearing my blue ribbon dress to represent the waters that are all across the state. So all the way from Klamath up north to our aqueducts, our streams, rivers, and ocean. We see here in District 4 again with the 9 Bay Area counties, which we know represent 7.7 million in our population. You'll see the red areas in the center of the upper photo shows a parallel between the areas that are environmentally at risk and also our most vulnerable marginalized community members that are at risk. And we know this was a part of the original 2030 initiative and now 2050 initiative. And then the picture to the left showcases the Bay Trail, which is 500 miles of continuous route. So I wanted to emphasize the 5 Ds that we have, which is decolonize, decongest, decriminalize, dignify, and dream. And I feel that this really represents our past, showing where we were prior to contact, during Gold Rush, knowing that this was significant trade routes and trails by our Indigenous relatives, and knowing that we are restoring that and preserving our natural world and bringing that back into balance, being mindful of our waterways and how it's all connected for all of our members and community. We're all connected to land. And so this is going to be exciting to dream for our future together and provide dignity for our community residents. And then if we want to move to the next slide, I'm really proud about these efforts. I'm in my second term of the Napa County Housing Commission. And since I initially started, I've been a strong advocate for our Indigenous communities. And what people often don't realize is our relatives from the South are often Indigenous. So there are language barriers with that. And Napa County Housing Commission advocates for our migrant workers, which account for 40% of our population. And almost parallel to that, their tax contributions are almost dollar for dollar to the TOT tax. And if we were to zoom in on these slides, you'll see this amazing work that Napa County staff helped do with outreach to ask migrant workers what languages that they spoke, what regions are they from, and a surprising and alarming amount of languages were found just within Napa County, which represent 19 Indigenous languages. And why that's significant is because on a local, national, and global level, our Indigenous communities only account for 1 to 3% of our population in statistics. And that, as you all know, translates to dollars and ways that we can impact policy and have other ways to provide solutions to our community. So I would like to have you all consider this in the future to look at data and how we can capture that in other ways. And I'll go ahead and take questions.
Thank you so much for that. We really appreciate it. Any public comment for this item?
Not seeing any requests to comment on the item.
All right, thank you. Anyone from the dais that'd like to comment or write a question? I see none. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Next up, we have item 17, state and federal legislative matters. Justin.
Great. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Tab 17 is the update on state and federal legislative matters. The book item attachment includes a list of bills monitored by Commission staff. Of these bills, staff is recommending the Commission adopt a support position on SB 470 by Senator Laird. This bill would extend the alternate teleconference provisions of the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act until 2030. These provisions would otherwise sunset at the end of this year. A draft support letter is also found as an attachment to the book item. Staff is not recommending any other positions on bills at this time. The deadline for bills to pass out of fiscal committees is next Friday, and the House of Origin deadline is June 6th. Commissioners, yesterday the governor released the May revision for the proposed 2025-26 state budget. And although the budget projects a general fund shortfall of $12 billion, there are no significant changes to spending levels for the Commission's transportation programs. The budget also includes the governor's initial proposal for the extension of the Cap and Trade program, or Cap and Invest, through 2045. Staff will continue to update the Commission on developments with the state budget ahead of the June 15th budget deadline. And Commissioners, this concludes my report. Again, staff recommends adopting a support position on SB 470.
Thank you, Justin. Any public comment?
We did not receive a request to comment.
Thank you. Anyone from the dais like to give a question or comment? Is there a motion?
I'm
happy. Oh, your question. Okay.
I'm happy to make a motion of support for Senate Bill 470 by John Laird.
Thank you so much. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Tiffany. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Justin.
I'm sorry, Chair, did we ask for nays and abstentions?
Oh, yes.
I might have missed that.
Yes, nays and abstentions. Any? Hearing none, motion passes. We're on to item 18, Justin again.
Commissioners, tab 18 is an informational item. Keith Duncan from Caltrans Budgets will present the item on budget and allocation capacity.
Thank you, Justin. Not sure if I have to bend down or not. Good afternoon. Happy Thursday. Chair Commissioners, Keith Duncan, Caltrans Budgets, and I'll be providing tab 18, the budget and allocation capacity update for you today. Next slide, please. As noted on the slide and the material, your agenda material, the Commission has allocated roughly $4.6 billion onto 590 projects since the month through the month of March for the 24-25 fiscal year. That represents about 38% allocated. So there's still about $7.7 billion available for allocation this fiscal year. The good news, the agenda has about $1.7 billion available for allocation. So it's more of that money being put to work for us. Next slide, please. Next, just a quick update regarding departmental activities in relation to the G12, which is the delegated authority by the Commission to the department to make adjustments to allocations within certain thresholds. In total, the department has processed adjustments to 216 projects for both the STIP and the SHOP, with a total value of $3.6 billion for those projects. And those adjustments resulted in a net savings of about $159 million. That savings for the SHOP and the STIP do return back for available funding allocation capacity within those programs. Next slide, please. Here, just showing you a brief showing how this current fiscal year compares to the prior few fiscal years in relation to percent allocated. The current year is highlighted there in the, we'll call it an orangish reddish, kind of a bolder line. You can see it from a percentage perspective. It does mirror last year's, but not as keeping up with 2 years ago, which is our high when you're looking at the 4-year period. Next slide, please. This slide again showing a comparison, and this is the total dollars allocated. And again, the current year is the reddish orange line, a little bold there. We're mirroring about 2 years ago, not unfortunately not as close as we were in last year's highs. 1.6 billion in this, assuming you do approve all the allocations in the agenda, it'll continue to mirror 2 years ago. Next slide, please. As requested, we want to continue to provide a federal funding update, at least from our fiscal management perspective. For the Federal Highway Administration formula funds, which fund the core programs that the CTC administers, those funds continue uninterrupted. We continue to get the funds allocated, get the funds authorized, and be able to obligate those funds with no limitations. And the FHWA does continue to fully reimburse us for those associated costs. The loan exception to the formula programs, as mentioned by Executive Director Taylor, the NEVI, the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program, continues to be suspended, but Caltrans and the California Energy Commission do continue to work on the current cycle of projects. So if and when those funds are freed up, we only have a little over a year left of the IIJA. So if and when the funds are freed up, we want to hit the ground running to be able to invest those funds. The other item, discretionary funds. These are for primarily our competitive grants. In general, they do continue to get delayed, but the good news is that funds are starting to trickle. 2 items on your agenda. Item 26, there's an infra grant for the Otay Mesa Port of Entry project. So you have that opportunity to be able to program those funds. And then tab 88 is an attain grant. So we are starting to get funds trickle through. Next slide, please. In relation to upcoming events, we did just put a bullet there for the May revise. I think everybody covered most of those items already in previous speakers, but we do wanted to note that included in the May revise is the updated transportation revenue. Garrett Franklin, my friend, will be presenting here in a moment regarding the fund estimate, and those transportation revenues continue to be in line with prior projections. So that's a good thing. And as we race forward to June, the anticipated legislature approved budget in by January 5th or June 15th, I'm sorry. And then at the end of June, at the commission meeting, we will present the draft fund estimate as well as the draft allocation capacity for the upcoming fiscal year. And then August, we are looking forward to presenting you the final fund estimate for your approval. Next slide, please. It can never go understated, and I'll say it every meeting. It takes a team to be able to manage these funds. CTC staff, CTC, our Caltrans financial programming, Caltrans budgets, and a lot of our local partners. Thank you all for your continued efforts to managing the funds, and I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Keith. Any public comment?
No request to comment on the item.
Thank you. Anyone from the dais has a question or comment? Hearing none, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
That moves us to item 19, the STIP estimate. Vincent.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Tab 19 is an action item. Garrett Franklin from Caltrans Budget will present the final assumptions for the 2026 State Transportation Improvement Program and Aeronautics Fund estimates. Upon presentation of this item, staff recommends your approval of the final assumptions.
Thank you, Vince. Thank you, Commissioners, Secretary. My name is Garrett Franklin. I am representing the Division of Budgets, and I will be presenting the final assumptions for the State Transportation Improvement Program and the Aeronautics Account Fund estimate. Next slide, please. So as was discussed during the March meeting, statute directs the Commission to approve assumptions, which are included in the book item, for during the fund estimate development process. These in part set the funding levels for the fund estimate and also help establish the programming capacity for both the State Transportation Improvement Program, the STIP, and then also the State Highway Operation and Protection Program, the SHOP. Events such as the release of May Revise, as Keith had mentioned, as well as the enactment of the upcoming budget for 25-26 would have the potential to impact the fund estimate during the development process. In situations like that, we would prepare the material, share it with you and with staff, and then present it as part of a subsequent meeting. Looking more longer term, post-adoption, situations and circumstances like the a new federal transportation act would also have the potential to impact the fund estimate. I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail and how we respond to that as part of the next slide. Next slide, please. So previous fund estimate cycles have been impacted by changes in policy or law. A few recent examples include an increase to the intercity rail passenger program that occurred in the base year of the 2024 fund estimate, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, the IIJA, that was signed into law during the base year of the 2022 cycle, and then also the global pandemic that impacted the 2020 fund estimate. In each of these circumstances, the fund estimate is not able to go back retroactively and make changes for these. So in each of these situations, the department, working closely with commissioners and staff, were able to make adjustments in order to account for those unanticipated changes and then incorporate the information as part of a subsequent fund estimate. And really what that does is that highlights the benefit of having the fund estimate updated every 2 years. Next slide, please. So moving on to the main assumptions, the first one is specific to projecting fuel consumption that impacts the state gross excise tax collections. We note that there's no change from the draft assumptions that were presented in March, and the department is recommending the assumption that's based on the Department of Finance's projections. The Department of Finance's projections are updated regularly by their revenue unit, and they are obviously specific to California. In addition to that, they project gasoline and diesel consumption independently, and it represents a moderate and consistent approach to fuel consumption forecasting. As far as the fund estimate cycle, the Department of Finance projections are indicating fuel consumption decreases over the period, but it's partially offset by increases to the inflationary component of the excise tax in the near term. As a result of that, the revenues will increase slightly over the first half of the fund estimate period and then begin to decrease slightly over the second half of the period. As Keith had mentioned, may revise with it being released so recently, we are unable to have that incorporated into the materials that are shared here. But as I had said, those would be added into the draft fund estimate tables that would be presented in the next commission meeting in June. Next slide, please. So this line graph displays the alternatives that were presented in the assumptions. And for reference, the alternative for the Department of Finance is in red. Next slide, please. So moving over to the federal resources, the main assumption establishes the funding levels for the federal funds over the fund estimate period. Similar to the consumption assumption, we're noting that no changes have been made from the draft assumptions from March, and we're recommending the assumption that's based on a 1.8% escalation rate annually. That is in keeping with the IIJA and the average annual increase over the current act. Next slide, please. Similar to 2 slides ago, this is a line graph comparing the alternatives that were shared, and the alternative recommended is in red, corresponding to IIJA's average annual increase. Next slide, please. Moving over to the aeronautics account, the main resource assumptions are projecting both excise tax on aviation, gasoline, and jet fuel. They're based on the Department of Finance's projections, and over the fund estimate period are projected to decline at approximately 2.4%. In addition, there's a $30,000 annual transfer that is in statute to the public transportation account. Next slide, please. As far as next steps, the department will continue to work with both commission and staff to prepare the fund estimate tables for the June commission meeting, followed by the proposed fund estimate for adoption at the August meeting. Government code does allow or grant authority for the commission to postpone adoption of the fund estimate for up to 90 days. And that would be based on a change, a legislative change at the state or federal level. Next slide, please. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. Any public comment?
We did not receive any request to comment.
Thank you. Anyone from the dais? Question or comment? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Bradshaw. Is there a second?
Second, and I had a comment.
Yes, please.
Yeah, no, thank you for the presentation, Franklin, and or Mr. Franklin. You know, even with the, you know, kind of the index increases through inflation, we're looking at, looks like a flat line, even a downturn on revenue. It's really just a comment. I think your presentation is going to lead very nicely to our next item, but it is very eye-opening that, you know, we're looking at revenues that are going to continue to go down. And so I appreciate you kind of bringing this forth and for the action today, but I just wanted to make that comment as we will be listening to our needs assessment coming up next.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair. So we had a motion by Commissioner Bradshaw, seconded by Vice Chair Falcon. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? So moved.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Thank you. We're on to item 20, the state needs assessment. Francis. Hey.
Oh, good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm very excited to present this item to you today. I was actually here 2 years ago at my very first commission meeting when I came on board, so kind of nice circular moment for me here. Tab 20 is an action item. Staff recommends the approval and the adoption of the 2025 State and Local Transportation System Needs Assessment. At the March Commission meeting, Commission staff presented the draft 2025 State and Local Transportation System Needs Assessment. The draft was released on March 3rd for a 30-day public comment period. Staff received a total of 6 comment letters during the public comment period. Overall, the comment letters received supported the preferred recommendation on the phased-in implementation of a sustainable funding mechanism to replace the state fuel excise tax. I will be providing a summary of the comments we received, what has been incorporated into the final 2025 needs assessment based on those comment letters, and which comments were either technically not feasible to incorporate or will be incorporated in the next needs assessment update. I also wanted to take a moment to thank everyone who participated, engaged, and helped staff on the development of this needs assessment. Your feedback and guidance helped to shape the final report, and staff looks forward to working with you on the next iteration of the needs assessment. With that, I will now begin my presentation to go over those changes. Next slide, please. As noted, I will go over or provide an overview of what the needs assessment is and the methodology undertaken, the summary of comments we received, changes made from the draft to final needs assessment. This includes narrative changes to the executive summary, the tribal section, and accessible transportation, changes in the findings, and minor changes to the recommendations and our next steps. Next slide, please, Brandy. Again, Senate Bill 1121, authored by Senator Gonzalez in 2022, requires the Commission to prepare a 10-year statewide transportation needs assessment and have that updated every 5 years. It is intended to assess the costs to operate, maintain, and grow the statewide multimodal transportation system, to consider the costs to address climate resiliency, compare costs against available transportation revenues, and to provide recommendations to address any revenue shortfall. The methodology undertaken in the development of this report, Commission staff held stakeholder workgroup meetings and workshops, focused both technical, or was both policy and technical focused. We engaged with the Interagency Equity Advisory Committee, assessed existing transportation plans and reports to analyze our 10-year transportation needs and revenues, and sent out a survey to our regional transportation planning agencies and for 10-year revenue projection and needs in our regional transportation plans. Next slide, please. So in terms of the comments we received during the public comment period, overall, so we had a 30-day public comment period. Again, overall, there was support for a phased-in implementation of a sustainable funding mechanism. We also received comments around, having a specific funding mechanism identified in this needs assessment. We look forward to working with the legislature when that time comes on identifying what that specific funding mechanism is, but a phased-in implementation is our preferred recommendation on what to do in terms of replacing the fuel tax. Commenters noted limitations in data and other information represented in this iteration of the needs assessment. Commenters also raised concerns that the needs assessment doesn't prioritize any of the needs identified in state and regional plans and alignment with state goals. Next slide, please. Commenters also raised concerns that the focus of the needs assessment recommendations was to raise revenue for roads and highways and requested a breakdown of transit needs based on funding eligibility. Comments received that were not incorporated in the final 2025 needs assessment were either technically not feasible at this time or outside of the scope of the needs assessment, but will be considered for the 2030 needs assessment where feasible. Things that we will be incorporating in the 2030 needs assessment, information from the Senate Bill 125 Transit Program Report, the fiscal analysis information from the California Transportation Plan 2050, update as required under Assembly Bill 2086, and staff will endeavor to include more refined information on bicycle and pedestrian needs, local streets and roads network, and transit capital and transit operations in the next iteration. Next slide. In terms of the summary of comments and narrative changes, within the executive summary, we did highlight that the potential infrastructure cost savings through location-efficient transportation and housing accountability can help maximize the existing multimodal transportation network. Comments received at the Native American Advisory Committee meeting in March highlighted the important link that tribal access roads provide as a connectivity to local streets and roads in the state highway system. So on reservation lands, tribal access roads really is that critical link, to getting to where many tribal members need to go. In terms of the narrative in accessible transportation, there was more information included on specific demographic information around California's aging and disabled population. So there's just providing more context essentially around how many people have a disability and just, again, the projected aging population that we're facing and sort of the other transportation needs that we may need to think about as we plan for the future there. Next slide, please. In terms of the findings, these are the final findings. There are some slight adjustments made. So our overall transportation needs are $756.8 billion. The revenue remains for the 10-year outlook at $572 billion. The shortfall is looking at roughly $215.7 billion. There was a $700 million reduction in our needs based on the alignment with the state rail plan. There was a drafting error on my part, so we revised the number just slightly. So if you round the numbers up, it's still $757 billion roughly and $216 billion. So, slight change, but still a very large, need and gap there. Next slide, please. So, just updated the total statewide needs and revenue summary here. Again, the transit and rail number is what decreased slightly in that 10-year period, specifically just with the alignment with the rail plan. Again, thus resulting in a slightly smaller major transportation funding shortfall. So just kind of wanted to highlight that that's what changed in terms of our findings. Next slide, please. In terms of the first principles, again, we built the first principles upon the core principles in the Climate Action Plan for Transportation Infrastructure, also known as CAPTI, and the goals of the CTP 2050. So that was really the foundation and our starting point of the development of the first principles. We engaged and got input from our stakeholder workshops, and that helped refine the first principles with additional feedback from the policy recommendation workshops. The first principles, again, are the building blocks for identifying important aspects of the statewide transportation system. There was a minor change here. We did add security to the safety principle, and this was specifically, to address data security and also just security in terms of transit rider, that feeling of security when taking transit. So, really kind of calling that out in the safety principle. Next slide, please. In terms of the final recommendations and the sustainable funding mechanisms, again, the preferred scenario itself still remains the phased implementation of a sustainable funding mechanism. This would require legislative action. So whatever funding mechanism is discussed or mechanisms is discussed, we will be engaging with the legislature on that to find a solution. And just to reiterate, the sustainable funding mechanism could take different forms. So, when that time comes, we are happy to engage and collaborate with the legislature. And really, the goal of implementing a new sustainable funding mechanism should be to stop the loss of transportation revenues due to the declining fuel consumption. A significant shortfall would still remain even if the projected revenue decline was halted and funding was stabilized. We do recognize that additional revenues are needed to address the identified shortfall in the needs assessment. Next slide, please. In terms of the final recommendations in the other recommendation sections, tribal transportation needs and climate resiliency transportation needs remain the same. We did add to the accessible transportation needs here, highlighting that a study should also be done to evaluate the extent to which transportation agencies are able to obtain and utilize funding that can be used to increase the accessibility of public streets and transit. This was specifically on comments that we received, during this period. And we recognize that this is important to address in the accessible transportation needs recommendation we provided. Next slide, please. So with that, our next steps are that I will be working with my colleagues in transmitting the final report to the legislature. And the next report will be out hopefully by January 2030. So with that, I conclude my presentation here. The book item provides, more of the specific comments for everyone to review that we had. And I'm happy to take any questions at this time.
All right, thank you, Francis. I have one card for someone in the room. Is there anyone online that would like to comment?
Not seeing any requests from our virtual attendees.
All right, great. And after this item, we'll take a break. Vanessa Schoenwald.
Good afternoon, Chair Grisby, Vice Chair Falcone, and Commissioners. I am Vanessa Schoenwald with the San Bernardino County Transportation Authority. SBCTA supports a phased implementation of a sustainable fund source for continued transportation investment. The structure of any fees should avoid disproportionately impacting residents in suburban and rural areas who may be compelled to live where housing is often more affordable but typically have to travel longer distances for basic services and employment. Given that the 10-year needs for local streets and roads represent over 1/3 of the statewide transportation need, it would be appropriate that any legislation or rulemaking incorporate a comparable share of revenue to be passed down to local jurisdictions through the county transportation commissions. Most commissions have well-established processes for this. SBCTA commends the inclusion of climate adaptation needs, particularly those related to wildfire resilience. However, we recommend broadening the flood risk discussion beyond coastal and delta regions. Flooding is a statewide concern, often exacerbated by wildfire events, and should be addressed comprehensively. If California aims to sustain the economic benefits of containerized freight, the impacts of freight movement must be addressed beyond port boundaries. This will require appropriate investments in the broader highway freight network to support efficiency and mitigate community and environmental impacts. Finally, SBCTA appreciates the acknowledgement of SB1 investments, but would like to emphasize that the contributions of the 25 local self-help counties, totaling $8.2 billion in 2024, are equally critical to the state's transportation infrastructure. These local investments, much of which is spent on state-owned highways and interchanges, should be recognized alongside SB1's $5.4 billion investment as foundational to meeting California's transportation needs. I'd like to end with thanking Francis for doing such a great job with coordinating the completion of this assessment. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll turn to the dais. Anyone have questions or comments? Commissioner Tiffany.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, Francis, tremendous job. Just going through it, it's amazing the amount of work involved, I know. So congratulations on a tremendous job to you and your team. I just want to, I guess, mention the obvious, which is, we have a $215, I wish, $215 billion. It's amazing. Billion here, billion there. Shortfall. And obviously, that's assuming the assumptions that you've laid out. When we look at climate change and the fires that we're dealing with, and just recently we had to address the fact that there was less money for alternative vehicle projects, and any number of other things. Seeing that large of a shortfall is certainly concerning. And when $31 billion of that is coming from the estimated impact of declining fuel consumption, it's really absolutely imperative that we move quickly to address that declining fuel consumption and do come up with a sustainable revenue mechanism. So I know you've done your job, but I would call out to the legislature to address this as soon as possible, and because there's such a great need for transportation out there, and the sooner we address this, the sooner we'll be able to address some of those shortfalls. So thank you again for your presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else? Comment or question? Vice Chair Falcone.
Yeah, just to amplify Commissioner Tiffany's congratulations to you, Francis, and to the team for putting this together. I think I mentioned this last time, the first time we were talking about this, we started off with what's the goal line? What are we expecting from this? And it's funding, and the growing needs. We we're doing the work. All of you are doing the work to ensure that our system is in good repair, but it doesn't maintain itself, and it will continue to require investment and teamwork to keep this system thriving. Our state was just named the 4th largest economy in the world, and that takes investment to. And I'm glad that the speaker that came up talked about freight, and freight and commerce is part of that economic success. I agree with Commissioner Tiffany, is that what this really brings up is the urgency of action. You know, every citizen will feel the impact of an infrastructure that is not well maintained, or not not meeting the needs of the needs of our citizens. And so it will be incumbent upon the next step, the legislature and the governor, to really digest this report, and hopefully we'll see some response to that. And so, with that, well done on the work that you all have done, and for those that have engaged in this whole process, including my fellow commissioners, and our agency partners, the public, and our regional partners, our advocates, in really informing what this report has manifested. So well done, and looking forward to taking action on this.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair. This is an action item. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Bradshaw, motion to approve.
Second.
Seconded by past Chair Gardino. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? None heard. Mission passes. This item passes, and thank you, Francis, for your hard work. We will now take a 10-minute break. See you soon.
Francis, before you start on the 2030 report, go ahead and take the afternoon off.
Very good, Carl.
All right, thanks so much. We're going to restart the meeting. Can I have order in the room, please? Michelle Beauchard with Caltrain.
There she is. She heard you.
Michelle?
And if I may, I'll briefly introduce this item. All right. Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. Tab 21 is an informational item featuring innovations in transportation. Michelle Bouchard, Executive Director with the Peninsula Corridor Joint Powers Board, which owns and operates Caltrain, will present on Caltrain's major projects and grade separation efforts. Michelle will also discuss Caltrain's work to identify sustainable funding strategies for improved service delivery. And with that, I will turn it over to Michelle. Thank you.
Great. Good afternoon, Chair Grigsby, Commissioners. I'm so fortunate to be able to present this item to you today. And first of all, I want to thank some of you in this room who came on our tour this morning. Also want to thank the support of Caltrain staff that helped to support us today. For those that were with us, I think you can see our enthusiasm for the project, that we really see results coming from that investment. And so I'm going to talk to you about that a little bit today. For those of you who weren't able to make it, I encourage you. We have at the minimum half-hourly service every day, all day. And so please come out and ride. It's quite the experience. Next slide, please. Next slide. So just to talk about the project, I mean, really, we were able to completely transform the railroad. Because of this project, we installed the traction power system. We completely changed out our diesel vehicles for these beautiful European style electric multiple units, but also we had the opportunity to enhance customer experience. So we've got full Wi-Fi, we've got outlets on every seat. So as soon as you get into the cab, you're sitting down, you're going to work, or you're having fun. And frankly, if you run out of juice, you can just plug your phone in, which is awesome. And we are completely electrified between San Francisco and San Jose. I did speak a little bit earlier about a plan to be able to operate a battery hybrid vehicle south of San Jose at some point soon. And then that is, again, because of a grant from the state of California, for which we're very grateful. Next slide, please. So we like to show the celebrations. Before this was about 25 years of hard-fought advocacy, fundraising, and we were in construction from 2017. But here you see our launch. We were able to bring all sorts of folks there. I see Commissioner Gordino up front and center, along with Governor Newsom and Nancy Pelosi. We really did spend quite a bit of time in August and September of last year celebrating the culmination of what was a lot of hard work by a lot of people. Next slide, please. And we celebrated with the entire community. We had weekends of free service where literally had tens of thousands of people show up. And what was so heartening is to see this is what we built this system for. It's the kids on the peninsula who will no longer hear the sound of a diesel engine or smell diesel fumes. Next slide, please. So the proof is in the pudding. We now find ourselves almost reaching the 1 million rider mark every single month. What has been astounding is since we went from hourly to half-hourly service in the off-peak and on weekend, we have exceeded pre-pandemic levels. I think we're at 100 and nearly 120% of pre-pandemic. Overall, we're at about 60% of pre-pandemic and continuing to climb. And I think the interesting fact about that, and I mentioned it at today's tour, is we're seeing most of the growth in the off-peak. And so we really see an upside opportunity for when offices start to get reused, people are coming back in to work more often. I think we're going to see our commute really go crazy. That's a railroad term, because we are the ones that can provide reliable trips between San Francisco and San Jose in under 60 minutes. And if you live in the Bay Area, you know what it's like to try and get from San Francisco to San Jose anytime on 101 or 280. Next slide, please. So turning to what are the next steps for Caltrain. Next slide. We did take the opportunity to talk a little bit about one of the largest challenges certainly on the peninsula, but I believe this is a regional and a statewide issue, which is all about grade crossing safety, how we pursue safe grade crossings. And one of the ways in which we do that is we look at anything from safety enhancements all the way to grade crossing elimination. And so you see here some of the goals with respect to this is, of course, safety, reduced horn noise from the trains, decrease in traffic congestion as they're waiting for trains to pass, and then also with that reduced GHG emissions. So what we're working on is figuring out, is there a cohesive plan, at least for the 41 grade crossings on the Caltrain-owned corridor, that we can gradually and comprehensively work through achieving one, if not all of these objectives through smart investment. Next slide, please. So when we talk about what are near-term safety improvements, we are piloting an AI solution at a few of our grade crossings that takes a look at what are vehicular behaviors at the crossings and then allows us to target, in some cases, very minimal investments such as bollards and solar markers to keep cars off of, frankly, where they shouldn't be. So off of the tracks and off of the crossings. And we've had some really good success with some of these investments. We use as an example a project that wants to be completely eliminated, but in order to take immediate action, we installed the AI solution along with these other infrastructure improvements. And before that, we had 3 cars turning down the tracks per week. And since then, knock wood, we've had 0. So really moving the needle on safety for sure. Next slide, please. And this is really sort of the challenge and in some cases the opportunity statement. When we look at grade crossing eliminations and we look at the cost of construction over the course of time, certainly pre-COVID to post-COVID, we have found that construction is just getting incredibly expensive. And so this is why we've defined that there is a spectrum of improvements that can be made, everything from the simple improvements that I just talked about to closures of crossings, turning them into just bike and ped under crossings, and then really where absolutely necessary, there still will be the need to actually grade separate. But when we see pricing coming in at just sub 500 million, we really do need to take a hard look at constructability, fundability, and really come together to figure out how we can speak to the construction community about how we can do things smarter and faster, because in construction, time equals money. Next slide, please. So moving on to some of the other exciting projects we have going on, we've got 2 really exciting planning mega projects, one right down the road in the portal. We're very excited to be part of that project. This will extend the Caltrain service and allow for future high-speed rail service under the Salesforce Transit Center. If you haven't seen the train box down there, it is amazing. It's a concrete box, but you could actually envision the trains coming in there. It's pretty amazing, and we are so happy to be partnered with the TJPA on that. Next slide. And then also, as we were standing at the 4th and King station, we ourselves are in a public-private partnership with the underlying landowner, Prologis, to take a look at how we might create a world-class transportation facility there to go with the world-class transit system we're building, as well as turn it into a mixed-use, transit-oriented development that will really, hopefully, again, continue the trend of growing jobs, retail, and housing in San Francisco. And this is in the planning phase. Next slide, please. Sorry. And then looking down south, a project that it's just an amazing project. The Diridon Station is a historic station, and we are looking to be part of what is a complete redo of that area. We've got 5 partner agencies looking to create a cohesive transit hub that will connect VTA, bus and light rail, BART, Caltrain, future high-speed rail, and we're looking at that also in the planning phase. Next slide, please. So those are some of the future plans, but just wanted to ground in the reality of what is Caltrain. Next slide, please. So as we've heard, many of the Bay Area and state agencies are approaching some pretty tough times. We will have a balanced budget for the coming fiscal year, but over the course of the next 10 years, we are looking at an average of $75 million in deficit. This certainly is pre-pandemic. Caltrain itself was pulling 75% of its operating costs out of the fare box. And so, as you might imagine, with the reduction in ridership coincident with COVID, we are really subject to these types of deficits. And so we are working very closely with regional leaders and state leaders to see if there can't be a regional tax of some sort or regional support that will help not only to fund this deficit, but also those of BART and Muni and others. But we can't just sit here and have our hands out. We really do need to figure out what Caltrain can do, both to reduce costs and to raise revenues. Next slide, please. So we've got a bunch of smart people, and we're also talking to our sister agencies. First of all, looking at every ridership growth strategy we possibly can, which includes, honestly, the electrification launch has been amazing for that. We're implementing fare programs. We are coordinating very closely to make sure that folks see a seamless set of transit agencies as they travel from Muni to Caltrain to BART. And I think one of the things that we've recognized is the railroad has many other assets than just the train service. And the train service is a big deal. But we have things like real estate, we have fiber, we have opportunities to pursue battery storage. And so we're looking at every opportunity to monetize every non-fare revenue asset. And so we're looking to bring money in that way. Will it solve the $75 million deficit? No, but we think it can, over time, it can really bring in a revenue stream that will diversify us away from the fare box and create a much more stable revenue for the railroad. And then, of course, in addition, we are looking at every level of cost containment, including positions, any sort of efficiencies. The electrification has allowed us to be much more efficient with our crew scheduling. And so we are continuing to see how we can contain costs. I think one of the things that we talked about today is also we have super evolved trains that push energy back into the grid. And so we're looking to see how we might be able to get credit for regeneration. Next slide, please. So on a bright side, we have done polling for Caltrain specifically in the Caltrain counties. And what we find also that we're very proud of is that Caltrain has a very high favorability rating, above 82%, which is amazing. And so we are hoping that that favorability can be part of bringing a successful regional tax measure across the line. And in any case, trying to be an asset and continuing to resonate with the riding public. So no matter what, we can be part of the funding solution rather than just having our hands out, which we are not. So again, I want to thank everybody so much for the opportunity to tell our story today. And thank you so much for coming for a ride this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We'll turn to public comment. Is there any public comment on this item?
We did not receive any request to comment on the item.
All right. I know Past Chair Gardino might want to say a few words.
Thank you, Chair Grisby. And I want to start with an apology and an explanation. For the past 10 months, we collectively, our amazing CTC team with the Caltrain team and the MTC team have been working on this morning for the tour and for your substantive and inspiring presentation. And then I wasn't here for it. So I want to apologize to everyone. I had business flights last night from the East Coast, stop in Chicago and here. And when your airline says you should switch airports because of their delays, listen to those texts. Messages because sadly it's a great airport too, but Newark Liberty International Airport is down on traffic controllers and they're down to one runway as well, I assume because of the lack of traffic controllers. So my best laid plans, we sat on the tarmac for 90 minutes, so I missed my connection and stayed in a motel outside of Chicago last night, which I wouldn't wish on anyone. So I missed it and I apologize. But if I may, Michelle, I just want to commend, first of all, you, Casey, Jason Baker, your board and your team for the incredible work that you do to serve this region, and that from San Francisco to Gilroy, 78-mile corridor that is so impactful and important to many people. And if my colleague has his way, you're going to be laying tracks to Hollister someday as well.
I'll give you my card.
Yeah. A few items. First, your slides were excellent. If they were in the electronic form of the packet, I'm still the old-fashioned guy who gets the paper. Could you send it to at least me or others as well?
Yep, absolutely.
Good, thank you. Second, favorability rating of 82%. It was that way, by the way, when we ran several campaigns, local, sub-regional, and regional for Caltrain funding as part of those packages. And I don't have an 82% favorability with my kids. So I know you're not going to squander that, but you can build on that for the good of the region. And I want to, as a private citizen, be of whatever help I can be as you continue to evaluate
Thank you.
what may be possible. The grade separations. You mentioned so many important aspects of those 41 identified grade separations, and I know you've prioritized those as well. We've led ballot measures that have helped with some of the funding for several of them. But there's a different type of safety that's so tragic, and that's people who use the tracks to take their own lives as well. And I know former mayor, current Palo Alto council member Greer Stone, who's also a high school teacher, has put a lot of time in that. Will the AI help in that situation, or how do we address the tragic loss of life?
Yeah, absolutely. And it is a huge issue that really has many different ways to approach it. And one of them is being involved very much in your community's mental health groups and really understanding that. From the railroad perspective, our board feels very, very strongly that we have to do our part. So we actually recently, I want to say 2 months ago, launched a trespasser and suicide prevention strategic plan specifically aimed at trying to find various different ways that we can deal with those who want to be on the right of way intentionally. To specifically answer your question, the AI can help. It needs to be trained, and it needs to be trained to understand that there's certain types of behaviors that are exhibited by folks who are contemplating something by the right of way. And so it very much is a learning tool, and we have to figure out how to convert it from seeing what cars behave like to what people behave like. But we very much see it as something that can help. But again, that is just one thing that also includes being part of our community mental health groups.
Good. Thank you. And if again, if there's a role, Tanisha is so good at taking my enthusiasm and channeling it the way it should be. But if there's ever a role on grade separations, including safety, not solely traffic and greenhouse gases and all the other important reasons that were on your screen, that please continue to partner with us. Diridon Station. One of the great opportunities there that we still haven't been able to crack the nut on is how do we get that it's really only about a mile and a half to San Jose International Airport, and the nearly 10 million passenger trips served through that airport every year, and all the cars and greenhouse gases and traffic that we could eliminate. What is your thought process on how we get that connection?
Yeah, and I think I was remiss in the one mode that I did not miss. And there currently is a project that involves installing a people mover going from Diridon to the airport. And again, in nascent stages, the city of San Jose is definitely taking the lead on that, but there is 100% the intention for it to connect to Diridon. We want to make sure that that hub seamlessly connects all of the traffic that wants to go through there. And particularly if we can start getting some development around there, it's really going to be a fantastic facility.
Agreed. And kudos to CTC staff. They had the technology company called Glideways speak to the commission about a year ago under Innovations in Transportation. And it's an amazing technology. And I'm glad that we're all still pushing for that. The last thing, this morning, I had promised Tanisha and Douglas that I was bringing the snacks for people who came on it. And when I parked at SFO several days ago for a multi-day business trip, I found things that wouldn't perish in the back of my car. So I'd like to have those. Who went on the trip this morning? Well, I don't have enough for everybody here, and you may not want them anyway. Because what we do together by partnering is that we build, and we're building better area for everyone in our region. So I got builders bars. So if we can pass these out, one per customer, hopefully at least to the people the 45 or so folks that went on the train this morning, including here. Douglas either wants the whole box or he's just being his normal, helpful self. These are chocolate peanut butter and these are chocolate mint. But if we can make sure commissioners get them if they want them as well. Michelle, I won't speak for everyone else, but I'm just indebted to you and your team and what you've all done. This has been as you said, 2.5 decade, I count closer to 3 decade labor of love for so many of us. And it's here and it's serving and it's growing and it's exciting. So thank you.
Well, we cannot have done this without decades of support from this commission, from all of our boards. So again, we're the steward of the investment, and we just hope to continue to make this team proud.
And to the chair, thanks for letting me be so effusive and take so much time. This has just been.
Hey, it's your backyard.
Yeah, it's been a lot of good campaigns too.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? I see Commissioner Tiffany.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, and fortunately, I wasn't trying to deal with Newark Airport, so I was able to go on the trip. And thank you for a great tour this morning, and it was really illuminating. And yes, I would like in my lifetime, and I think I'm running out of time, see it go to Hollister, but we'll see. I did want to ask because looking at the revenue picture, and I know you look at BART or and not just as was discussed earlier, not just here in California or the Bay Area, it's an issue throughout the country, but particularly in the Bay Area with people during the pandemic not working, not going to work. What are the projections? Because so much is tied to people coming back, and what are the projections that your people are looking at, whether it be for Caltrain or BART, or I'm just curious, what do you see going forward in that area?
I mean, and I can speak for Caltrain alone. One of the things about rail that is different than other transit modes is we have high, very fixed costs that, we've got rail, it needs to be maintained no matter what. And so what happened during the pandemic for ourselves, we're projecting getting back to pre-pandemic ridership and call it the 2030 to 2031 timeframe. So we've got a little ways to go, and that's to get back to pre-pandemic. What we're finding over the course of time, however, with the cost curve is, we've seen inflation that got a little bit nuts. It's calming down now, but so costs are still rising. And revenue, certainly for the fare side, is not rising as much. So we're starting to, for ourselves, talk about, this really becomes a structural deficit that will require revenue external to the fare box. Certainly for Caltrain, pre-COVID, we had passed a tax measure, again, with the help of many supporters. And we thought with our fare box and with some tax revenue coming in, we would actually be able to be self-sustaining. But that is no longer for us. And I think that literally is the story. We need to really take a look at permanent funding for transit because structural deficits are real.
Do you feel from a revenue standpoint that you have the ability to, at least for excluding the lower income areas, potentially increase fares and without losing ridership? What's your evaluation on that?
Yeah, I think, when we look at, again, speaking for Caltrain, we run through a fairly well-off geography. We are putting in our first fare increase since pre-COVID, because we wanted to make sure we were getting riders back. But part of electrification was also being able to expand our service to a much different type of clientele. We want to be able to serve everyone on the peninsula. So we are being a little bit careful, and we want to be somewhat incremental in terms of fare increases at this point. We very aggressively pursued fare increases pre-COVID, and it did not seem to impact ridership because a lot of it was you had to be in the office 5 days a week. And now that is just not the case. And I think the Bay Area, globally is one of the slowest to bring back that work culture to the central business district. That will help move the needle quite a bit on transit.
Right, and as past Chair Gardino's mentioned, with such a tremendous 82% favorability, which is, unheard of, that's really going to enhance your ability to bring back people or bring on new people, because you have a great product.
Yeah, we hope so.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else on the dais? Vice Chair Falcone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Michelle, for such a wonderful morning. I can tell that you're very proud of of this achievement and your team in operating and continuing to enhance this corridor. To our past chair, Gordino, I don't know if your ears were ringing, but your name was at least said in vain half a dozen times during the tour. So even though you weren't there in person, your presence was felt. And thank you for really encouraging us to partake of this wonderful service. From San Diego, I'm having a little bit of electrified train envy. Multimodal envy, really. But we're doing some very innovative stuff in San Diego as well. Speaking of innovation, was very impressed in hearing about how you're trying to capture revenue, not just in the fare box, and was pleased to see what you're trying to do in terms of fares for youth and for underprivileged and economically disadvantaged communities. So thank you for that. In that vein, we're looking at how you capture ridership down into the future. What kind of outreach efforts are you doing, to really get deeper into the communities along these corridors so that you have into the future, the capture the ridership of this asset? Yeah, we created a ridership growth task force as part of this to really just try and brainstorm. And there was no idea that was too outlandish to be able to consider. Of course, we narrowed them down to things that we really thought could move the needle. Like you saw the dollar youth, that has been a huge, huge success. And what we found is, in addition to that, youths bring their parents. And so that has really helped things. So, but when we talk about serving the communities and really getting into the communities, we have identified, and you met some of the staff who systematically are going to be working with all of the communities up and down the peninsula. We have strong relationships with community-based organizations, which is how we started our Clipper Start program. So that's a bulk ticket that is purchased by local businesses, and they purchase it for every one of their employees. And so those who aren't actually using it, they donate it back. We work with local community centers to donate those tickets, and that way we're building ridership in that way, and we're also getting further into the communities. That's just one more example, but we acknowledge that we have to have really strong touch and feel persistence with communities, because I think what happened during COVID
is we all became a little bit isolated. And so what's been great about launching this service, I always key it back to this because we had so many community events where people have started to reintroduce themselves to the train. And frankly, we're getting reintroduced to those communities. And so we've started launching those outreaches. And we have a very, very active board who really helps us and compels us to do so. So they provide a lot of incentive to do so. So it's very much, we have to come up with these, maybe they're small initiatives, but they're all worth trying.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. It's so impressive, right? But I think at some point, that wow factor, we want it more to be a normalized part of life. And so I look forward to, hearing updates about how your ridership is being impacted by some of those things that you're doing. You definitely have some great swag and marketing materials. And so thank you again for hosting us and for your presentation.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions, and as a Bay Area resident, there's been a consistent drumbeat on the importance of integration between various agencies, since we have 27 of them across multiple counties. And I know that that's been important to you to make sure that integration and seamlessness occurs for the user experience. So if you could go over some of the steps you've taken, that'd be great.
Sure. And it is true, the 27 agencies, there's been a concerted effort to figure out, how collectively we can behave as integrated as possible. And so just a few things, and this is, it seems just like a natural thought, but all of the agencies, they changed their schedules, according to their own needs. Well, just starting last year, all of us are participating in what's called the Big Sync. So we are all changing our schedules at the same time. And so we're all coordinating in ways that at least, customers aren't going to be like, well, Caltrain changed their schedule. And so, gosh, what am I going to do with the BART connection? So there's that. And then on the micro level, we are working very closely with BART. There's a connection at Millbrae that we know certainly would be aided by higher frequencies, but while we're operating at 3 and 4 trains an hour, our teams are working really hard to make sure that those are time transfers to get folks in and out of the city. And then the other thing that's really important is fare instruments. So we're a part of the Bay Pass pilot that we hope will be very successful, that essentially will provide for a single ticket that will allow folks to go on any one of the 27 transit agencies eventually. And I know it's structured in different ways in terms of, well, there's a core Bay Pass, and then there are others. But that is really proving to be very successful. And that's one way that we can really appear to be a single entity. So those are the real two big ones. There's a lot of work being done on wayfinding as well. But those are the ones that definitely we're all in on.
That's so great to hear. And want to also commend the region for a lot of the development around some of the stations. And you took us to South San Francisco, very impressive. Um, is that happening around stations across the line, or are you seeing differences in different parts of the region for that?
Certainly on the Caltrain line, and I like to consider ourselves the original TOD. The communities on the peninsula actually developed around the rail line, which has been here for 160 years. So we have a little bit of a leg up. But if we had gone a little further south, we finished another grade crossing, grade elimination project called the Hillsdale Station. That used to be an old racetrack, and it is completely transformed. So we're seeing that happen up and down the line. I think what we'd really like to see as, a next step is getting the two ends of line where we got robust development right next to our stations. Another one is Redwood City. So I could just name them. So from that perspective, it bodes well for people coming back because we know TOD works very well to bring ridership back, and they work well as an integrated system.
That's awesome to hear. Is that embedded into your ridership projections going forward, the expected growth in the areas around the station?
Yeah, we did an initial business plan that very much looked into development, and this was pre-COVID. So we're going to have to update those development estimates eventually. So right now, our ridership projections are probably rooted in a conservative notion of seeing a big increase with electrification, but eventually we will update those ridership projections to be in sync with what is projected to be local development.
Right. Well, thank you so much. Did you want to get back in?
Well, just fun fact, Abraham Lincoln was president of the United States when Caltrain started. Yeah, 1863.
Yeah.
I remember I was a second grader.
Very cool. Well, we appreciate your leadership, and of course, all the work that Caltrain has done is emblematic of what others could do in the state. So thank you so much for all you've done.
Great. Thank you very much. And thanks to the team. Appreciate it.
All right. Item 22 has been withdrawn, so we're going to item 23, the ATP MPO for San Diego. Anya.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Tab 23 is an action item to adopt the 2025 Active Transportation Program Metropolitan Planning Organization component for the San Diego Association of Governments. And I'll just refer to them as SANDAG moving forward. The 2025 Active Transportation Program is a 4-year, $168,700,000 program, of which 40% of the funding is distributed to projects selected through a regional competitive process. SANDAG has requested early adoption of their regional program of projects. There is a related allocation under tab 111. The remaining Metropolitan Planning Organization component program of projects will come forward for consideration at the June 2025 Commission meeting. The Budget Act of 2024 included a $400 million reduction to the Active Transportation Program. As a result, the funds available for SANDAG's regional call for projects was reduced from $20,689,000 to $6,137,000. Commission staff recommends funding 3 projects in the 2025 Active Transportation Program Metropolitan Planning Organization component for the $6,137,000, which aligns with SANDAG's recommendations. Combined, the total project cost for the 3 projects is $31,600,000. All 3 projects benefit disadvantaged communities, exceeding the legislative and program guideline requirements that a minimum of 25% of the funds must benefit disadvantaged communities. Staff has reviewed this request and finds it consistent with the Active Transportation Program guidelines. Staff recommends approval of tab 23.
Thank you, Anya. Is there any public comment on this item?
We did not receive any request to comment on the item.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments from the dais? I see Vice Chair Falcone.
Thank you. Thank you, Anya and Jaden and team for bringing this item forward and working with SANDAG. I know it's very difficult to, distill into 3, really 3 projects chosen of many that are needed to really, bolster ATP in that region, my region. But I appreciate the projects that have been brought forward. One of them being a very important segment of the 24-mile Bayshore Bikeway. It's a segment that touches one of the most impacted communities in San Diego and National City. So appreciate that as part of the package. With that, if it is okay with my colleagues, I'd like to make a motion to support.
And I'd like to second.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
So we have a motion by Vice Chair Falcon and a second by Past Chair Leanne Eager. Is the pardon me. So sorry. Yes, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Noes? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you. Next up, we're going to do the information calendar. Ahmed.
Thank you, Commissioner. Tabs 24 through 37 are information items that have been reviewed by Commission staff with no issues raised. Therefore, individual items will not be presented unless specifically requested by a Commissioner. Please make note of the change list for tab 26, 28, and 29. If there are no questions, that will conclude the presentation of the information calendar.
All right, thank you so much, Ahmed. So we're moving to day 2 now, which is great. Item 60 has been removed, so we're going to item 61, the airspace lease. Ahmed.
Thank you, Commissioner. Tab 61 is an action item requesting approval for Caltrans to enter into direct negotiation with Electricity, Inc. for a long-term lease to support the connection of a proposed floating solar farm to the PG&E substation. The Napa Sanitation District is partnering with Electricity to develop a floating solar power farm on 2 wastewater treatment ponds located just south of Route 29. The project will include approximately 63,840 solar panels and is expected to generate about 34 megawatts of electricity per day, which is enough to power approximately 7,400 local homes. This renewable energy project supports California climate and sustainability goals by offsetting an estimated 21,000 tons of carbon dioxide annually. It will also provide local environmental benefit, including reduced algae growth and the conservation of up to 173 acres of water per year. To transmit the electricity to the grid, Electricity must connect to the nearest PG&E substation located northeast of the Route 29 and Route 221 interchange. The proposed transmission line would run underground within the state's right-of-way. Because this is a private transmission line, it falls outside the department's standard utility accommodation policy. Therefore, the department's right-of-way requires a lease agreement at a fair market value. It's important to note that today's request is solely to authorize the department to directly negotiate with Electricity, Inc., and the department will return at a future date to seek approval of the final lease terms, including the negotiated lease amount. Staff recommends approval of tab 61.
All right, thank you so much, Ahmed. Any public comment?
There was no request to comment on the item.
All right, thank you.
Sure, we just had a member of the public come up and ask me a question. I'm going to wait and make sure it's not for this item.
All right, thank you.
Is it for this item?
We have Carrie from the EAC. Thank you. I need more caffeine, apparently. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm very interested in this. I would like to know whether or not this could be considered as a backup power grid for Napa.
We have Caltrans on the line. They'll be taking that question.
Thank you.
It should be Renee. Perfect.
Renee, you are now free to unmute yourself and comment. Renee, I see you're unmuted. If you are speaking, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Perfect. Hello, my name is René de Leon. I am with Caltrans in the Real Property Services Airspace Program.
Excuse me, can you slow down a bit? Maybe reintroduce yourself. You were a bit grumbled.
Sure, not a problem. Hello, my name is Rene de Leon. I am with Caltrans's Real Property Services Airspace Program.
Hi, Renee. Did you hear my question?
I did hear your question. Would this be considered a backup grid for the Napa Valley? Not my understanding at this point in time. That's not what this is entitled a part of. This is mostly just creating a solar area to provide solar energy to the nearby PG&E station. So it's not a larger Napa Valley grid at this point in time.
Thank you for that. If there could be future consideration for a backup power grid for Napa. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
Any comments from the dais or questions? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Commissioner Tiffany moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Bradshaw seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Noes? Abstentions? Motion passes. We are now on to item 62, Director's Deeds. Ahmed.
Thanks, Commissioner. Tab 62 is an action item requesting approval for Caltrans to move forward with executing 3 director's deeds for the sale of excess state-owned properties in the city of Pasadena. The sale is in accordance to Section 118 of the Streets and Highway Code, the Roberti Act, and the State Route 710 Sales Program Regulation. Under the Roberti Act, Caltrans is required to dispose of surplus residential properties in a way that supports affordable housing for low to moderate income families. The 3 properties being sold are vacant and occupied single-family residences. The properties have been offered to the city of Pasadena, which has priority under the law to purchase unoccupied surplus residential properties within its jurisdiction at the department original acquisition price, and as is without warranty. A declaration of covenant, conditions, and restriction will be recorded on each of the properties. The restriction allows the city to resell the properties at fair market value and use the proceeds to finance the acquisition of 3 affordable housing units for each property sold. The city must identify the suitable parcel to demonstrate the zoning allows for the development of the 3 affordable housing for each property before escrow can close. Staff have reviewed the request and recommends approval of tab 62.
Thank you, Ahmed. Any public comment?
We did not receive a request to comment on the item.
Thank you. Anyone from the dais, question or comment? Commissioner Bradshaw, are you wishing to speak? I see your mic lit. All right. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Bradshaw moves. Is there a second? Commissioner Tiffany seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Noes? Abstentions? Motion passes. So we have a recusal on the next item, item 63. Commissioner Mann.
Thank you. I'm recusing myself on item 63 due to a potential conflict.
All right, thank you. We will proceed once you leave the room. All right, item 63, Cherry.
Tab 63 is an action item to accept the environmental impact report for the State Route 70 Binney Junction roadway rehabilitation project in Yuba County, and to approve the project for future consideration of funding. The CEQA lead agency, Caltrans, found that the project would have less than significant impacts on the environment. Staff has reviewed this request and recommends approval.
Thank you. Is there public comment on this item?
There was no request to comment on the item.
All right, thank you. Anyone from the dais has a comment or question? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Bradshaw. Is there a second? Vice Chair Falcone seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Noes? Abstentions? Motion passes. I'll pause so we can bring back our commissioner. All right, on to item 64, Tim.
Thank you. Commissioners, tab 64 is an information item. Caltrans is here to provide an update on the status of project delivery milestones for the current fiscal year, and we'll be discussing risk management strategies and project delivery improvement solutions to address both current and future year delivery commitments. Sujai Kalanasan, Caltrans Acting Division Chief of Project Management, is here to provide the presentation.
Good afternoon, Chair Grisby, Vice Chair Falcone, Director Taylor, Commissioners, and Transportation Partners. My name is Sujaya Kalainasan, and I'm the Acting Division Chief for the Division of Project Management. Today, I will be presenting an update on the status of project delivery for fiscal year 24-25. Next slide. As part of my presentation, I will share the delivery status as of the end of April 2025. I will discuss the details of our portfolio right-sizing effort for the current and future fiscal years, including the recommendations and solutions for managing our delivery risks. Next slide. Next slide, please. This slide summarizes the project delivery status for the current fiscal year. We had a total of 250 projects planned to be delivered this year. And as of the end of April, we had 93 projects delivered. We're still working on delivering an additional 109 projects. Of the 109, about 40 of them still have some risks built into them. We have pushed out 48 projects into the future year because they had considerable risks on them. For the 48 projects that were pushed into the future years, 17 were on par to be reprogrammed in the future years. And we hope to request a commission for time extension for the remaining 21 projects. I also want to point out that this year we've delivered an additional $700 million compared to the last 4 years by the end of Q3. And also our projects have increased in complexity and size. We went from $10 million for an average project cost in fiscal year 2021 to $22 million in average project cost in the current fiscal year. While we were working on project delivery this year, our teams were also drawn on to work on emergencies across the state. As of the middle of April, we had delivered $528 million in emergency projects. Next slide, please. In the next couple of slides, I will provide an overview of our portfolio right-sizing effort for both the current and the future fiscal years. Next slide. Our portfolio right-sizing effort involved a comprehensive risk assessment of our portfolio of projects for the current year and 2 future fiscal years. By year, I mean fiscal year in the slide here. Based on our risk assessment, can we go back to this slide? Based on our risk assessment, we categorized our projects into 2 buckets, the current fiscal year and then the future fiscal year. Now, for the current fiscal year, we came up with some recommendations. First, we plan to deliver all projects that were medium to no risks. And for projects that have high level of risks, if they required more than 20 months beyond their current schedule that pushes them outside this fiscal year, then we recommended unparing those projects and then reprogramming them in the future fiscal years. Where the scheduled risks were below 20 months, we tried to mitigate that risk to minimize the schedule delay. And those projects will come to the Commission to request an allocation time extension. You will see these time extension requests later in the agenda on tabs 113 and 116. For the future fiscal year, in which we consider the next 2 fiscal years, we did a deep dive into our project portfolio and evaluated the risks on projects, especially considering the lessons learned this year. We adjusted the schedules to account for the risks and align the project delivery year accordingly. For projects with high schedule risks that cannot be easily mitigated, we considered scope adjustments. Where downscoping was not feasible, we unpared those projects and we reprogrammed them, or we're working on reprogramming them in the future fiscal year. Projects unpared may require to be reprogrammed mid-cycle. We also made some changes to our internal policies to align with the level of flexibility afforded by program and commission guidelines.
all these decisions were evaluated both at a project and at a program level. Next slide, please. In my previous updates to the Commission on Project Delivery, I laid out various risk areas that impacted our projects, such as right-of-way, permits, utilities, etc. In this slide, I want to expand on how we're addressing each of these risks and how are we managing them for the future fiscal years. From a programmatic perspective, from a project management end, we have a lot of new staff that are now working in critical roles in project delivery. And we want to support them by providing them multiple training resources. We've always had functional academies, which are like week-long trainings to provide a lot of functional knowledge to new project engineers and project managers. Going forward, we want to increase the frequency of these academies. In addition, we're also increasing the amount of asynchronous training that we're providing, which are on-demand training that staff can use as they come across the need for certain functional expertise. We're doing project delivery team meeting trainings. This is to help facilitate better conversation during project team discussions. This helps in identifying risks early in the project development phase. Another comprehensive effort that we're doing is best practices workshop. We're pulling together subject matter experts across the functions. We're looking at what worked and what didn't across the districts, and we're putting together best practices, which we will go to each district and do workshop beginning next fiscal year. And this will help the staff get reacquainted with a lot of our policies and processes. It will also reinforce existing process and help mitigate risks better. We are retraining and reinforcing our risk management practices for cost, schedule, and scope. We're also increasing the level of tracking on our projects. This year, we focused on tracking from a risk perspective. We'll continue to expand upon it in the next years. We are reinforcing our internal policy to drive timely and early programming changes. From the design end, we want to look at being able to design to a greater extent early in the project cycle, where the project alternatives allow for it. From an environmental perspective, especially with respect to permits, we're looking at early engagement with permit agencies, and this we are doing through AB 1282. We have a permitting task force with the mission to explore ways to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of permitting for transportation projects. The process is for early engagement during the bid phase to discuss and resolve potential issues earlier than resolving some of that later in PAED or in design. We're also developing guidance and training documents to support the process. We're working on improving cross-agency understanding of regulatory and permitting requirements and process. We continue to collaborate on advanced mitigation, working with permit agencies to address their needs to support timely processing. From a right-of-way perspective, one of the challenges we've had is shortage of appraisers. We are strategizing, grouping like appraisals together, and this is to help capitalize information across multiple reports, so these reports can be assigned to appraisers with a certain skill set. We're also looking at getting appraisers from the outside to supplement our workforce. We're working on contracts with the Appraisal Institute and International Right-of-Way Association to cultivate our internal appraisers' expertise in eminent domain and in partial acquisition appraisals. To address some of the ongoing project delivery discussions, we will bring right-of-way into meetings early in the project development phase. This will help avoid excess ingress-egress damages, minimize right-of-way impacts, and also educate teams on temporary right-of-way needs, which is just as time-consuming as permanent right-of-way needs. For utilities, we want to build on the partnership that we already have with utility agencies. We will continue to work on gaining commitment in meeting dates for relocation plans, liability letters, and utility agreements. We're looking at minimizing schedule and scope changes after conflict maps submittal is developed. That'll help reduce back and forth in resubmittal of packages. We're also looking at increasing training to gain statewide consistency in how maps are developed. This is to help our utility partners provide a faster response. We're looking at concurrent processes where procedures allow. and to proactively find solutions to address new policies that utility agencies put out. With all of those improvements, we hope to increase the percent of project delivered continuously. Okay, next slide. That's the last one, I think. With that, I can take any questions.
All right, thank you so much. Any public comment?
There was no request to comment on the item.
All right, thank you. Anyone from the dais, questions or comments? Commissioner Tiffany.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, Sujai, I want to commend you on your presentation, and it seems like you all are really working toward addressing the reasons for project delays, and I want to applaud you for really addressing that head on. So I look forward to seeing hopefully the results from that. And to that point, are you going to be tracking, I think you said you would be, but tracking over time, how things play out from here so that you can, adjust and see where you have successes and where you need to continue to dig in. But anyway, good presentation, and thank you for the work on this.
Thank you, Commissioner Tiffany. The credit goes to the larger Caltrans team.
Quick. I just want to add something to what Commissioner Tiffany has said, because you asked for data and things, and our team has been looking at that data. And one thing that Sujaya didn't mention, she mentioned it softly when she said they're products of the work that Caltrans has done on this agenda. But when we look at last year versus this year, when we're talking about 50 versus 9 projects requesting larger time extensions, that is a testament to the work that Sujaya and the Caltrans team have done.
All right, thank you. Anyone else questions, comments on this item? All right, seeing none, we're going to move to adjournment for today, and I've asked the Vice Chair to lead us in an adjournment in memory.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have two requests for adjourn in memory. The first came from Commissioner Bradshaw, adjourning in memory of our fallen workers who have bravely served our state by maintaining, providing safety, and constructing our transportation system in the state. The second adjourn in memory is for Chair Bo Mazzetti of the Rincon Band of the Luiseño Indian. And with that, I request adjourn in memory.
Thank you. So we'll do as was asked earlier, just give a moment. Did you want to have a stand, Commissioner Bradshaw, or you mentioned something earlier?
At folks' comfort level, standing silent moment would be great. But
okay, let's do it. All right, with that, we're adjourned. Thank you.